truly African.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and
Ghanaians are reeling from economic crisis, which has been attributed to skyrocketing inflation, imposition of draconian taxes, rising cost of living, and a high level of youth unemployment. The endemic problem, which has persisted for long, also requires achievable solutions to make life bearable for people. Deciding on what to eat and its associated costs continue to have a serious toll on the income of unskilled employees, as prices of food items in the country has shot up astronomically. Like most food joints in the country, the situation at Abilenkpe, a suburb of Accra, is no different. Madam Esi, who sells kenke, narrates how her business, which boomed from the onset, has suffered a nosedive.
If said the queen first in 2 cedi 1.5, they said they're 3, 2, and I'm on 2 cedi no cray 3 cedi 4 cedis. They say I'm no cry for 3 no cray and 4 cedi. I'm about own team into can I say I'm no 4 cedi or say any Missika so not as I was said or sign a chinoko. Dear Johnny need be so and this is your sa dear Besano near the co. You bet Dinisa so I know what's not no Dinisa no co. Now who did an among can hold the old man be eh, homete. Ube didi enamon ka ho wo ye adwuma nso no sika no ntimi fa nto aduane ni ndi enka aduane afo de enka yese edokono nso se de dokono kro mu ntimi nto fitia no pa ebetena ha ade ayaton kro 100 cedis ntino se de ye kɔ ne se ye kɔ ye ni mana ye ba ye chi nti o man peni oteso no nhwe na ommo aye se ebro no bottle back 700 cedis ahina ba obetuetu adwuma ifo na aka petrol isu abue ye nye
Kweku Mensah on his part opined that the hike in prices of food and unavailability of jobs has denied people from enjoying meals of their choice, as government's economic management team has struggled to address the country's worsening economic crisis.
Bako 4 cedi ene de amame ya no mekomanto na mti ama meko kroni mo ayishi kroni mo ayishi oh mi to 2 cedi me correct wa they say 4 cedi cry me ama te tv bia ama dokro ama besi eburu bo ayede ti ere kete ama ye ho chire okoro a day between spending almost 60 cedis from me alone. And the party says you crock. Even time in count. Oh, can if you put quite a Belgium available, media 30 cities. And then be lawyer friend now. But so cost of food and I was sort of the time be a cost of MIA. And I first like a Juma in the Kroma. You to be BIA.
he has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer. He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and he has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer and
watching us live on Pan-African Television. We are live on Facebook, Pan-African Television. We are live on YouTube. The page to look for is Pan-African TV. And we are live with the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. Here we say it as it is, no matter who is involved in the end. We will leave you better educated. We are also live on Radio Gold, and several other affiliates across the country. A big thank you for making time, and a big thank you to those affiliates for giving us that wider reach. This morning, we are discussing the new patriotic party first. The ruling party, the governing party. They went to a delegates conference to elect national executives who will run the affairs of the party for the next 4 years. There were very huge casualties. But there were people who got the victory they have been searching for years. I'm talking first about Mr. John Boydu, who lost his general secretaryship. He was the biggest casualty of the night. Then there was Mr. Stephen Ntim, who had been campaigning for years to be the national chairman of a new patriotic party. He got the nod this time around, resoundingly. The two have the job of leading a new bunch of executives. Majority of the faces not new though. We have the same national women organizer they went to the last election with. We have the youth organizer then, who is now the national organizer. And then there's a new youth organizer. They have the job of steering the party to the 2024 elections. And already there's a survey out that has their job quite well cut out for them. According to Global Info Analytics, this government is perhaps the most unpopular in the history of this country. Very high disapproval ratings, to the point that people do not believe the currency can be turned around within the next 12 months. And then the two leading candidates who are supposed to purportedly may emerge as the flag bearer of the party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Alan Chemantin, placed against John Mahama. According to Global Info Analytics, both of them will lose, and by very wide margins. So their work is cut out for them. How will they do that? Well, we'll see. But we'll be talking about them this morning. And then we'll move over and talk about there is a growing battle over the graves of Professor Mills. And then, of course, the founder of this country, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So there's work currently ongoing at the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum and Asomdwe Park. Asomdwe Park houses the body of Professor Mills. Then Kwame Nkrumah houses the body and the legacy of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Government says it's doing some work on the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum that would actually ensure that Nkrumah gets a befitting place. But that's not all they are doing. They are adding other people they believe played a part in the struggle for independence. Prominently, as you see on the your CD note when you talk about the Pixies. We'll be talking about both. And then we'll end with the suggestion by Bloomberg that we are at a high risk of debt default this year, not 2024. This year, defaulting on our debt this year. We'll end with that discussion. A big thank you once again for joining us. And my panel for today is made up of Mr. Kwesi Prajinia, who is General Secretary of the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Jifa Tegan joins us in the studio. And Mujib Rahman, wonderful to see Mujib this morning. Who is a member of the communications team of the new patriotic party. Alassane Suhini, member of parliament for Tamale North, will be joining us shortly, and that will be our panel for today, discussing the topics that we have tabled. Thank you once again, and thank you very much for joining us. Well, let's start off the discussion with the new patriotic party, and let's start off with Mujib Rahman. He is a member of the party and an ardent campaigner for Mr. Alhaji to be flag bearer of the party.
The next leader of the new patriotic party, inshallah.
Good morning. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Sena. And it's been a while.
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity and to your viewers out there. Yeah, you saw what happened today's week at Accra Sports Stadium. We converged the MPP delegates, MPP leading members, and MPP elders across the length and breadth of this country to fulfill our constitutional requirement that every 4 years there should be a Congress to deliberate about the strength of the party and to deliberate about the finances of the party and to elect leaders among ourselves to steer the affairs of the new patriotic party for the next 4 years. So that was why we converged at Accra Sports Stadium last week, Saturday. And many people, party members in good standing, offered themselves to be voted for to occupy various positions. Critical among them is the national chairman position, followed by the general secretary, the organizer, women's organizer, all the positions. So we saw various people express their interest, went through the legal processes of filing, and then they took their campaigns to the constituencies, crisscrossing length and breadth of the country. But eventually we saw that the delegates decided on those particular people offered themselves that they want them to lead the affairs of the party in the next 4 years. So just like you've mentioned from your introductory speech, there were fallouts, there were surprises, but some of us from where we sat, I was not surprised, especially with regards to the general secretary position. Knowing, involved in party affairs, have a lot of friends across the country who are constituency executives, regional executives. Sometimes you get the feeling of what the people are looking for if given the opportunity. So I wasn't that surprised. I knew that there were going to be a lot of shocks, and then especially with regards to the general secretary position, to the extent that I think 4 days to the election, a friend called me and said, how do I see the general secretary? And I was confident, and I told him point blank that you saw how things were going. Based on that, I think that we're going to get a new general secretary. After Jumbo Edu, I don't think he will be retained. He asked me, but also look at what is happening. If you were in my position and you has done call people to find out their views, I think you would have understood what I'm telling you. So eventually, after the election, he called me and said, do I know something he doesn't know? I said, no, that's how it is. So if you chronology a past events to what happened in Accra Sports Stadium last Saturday, I think you won't be surprised. Let me give you one example. In Koforidua, the past 4 years when we went there for national elections to elect new leaders, that was where Jumbo Edu was legitimately elected as the general secretary of the new patriotic party. That proud that I think it was after Kobna was out, then he came to serve that period. So there were two candidates, and the one was actually not known that much. There was a guy called Richard Ahiagbe who just came in, and he couldn't even tour some of the regions. But looking at the votes he garnered in Koforidua tells some of us a lot that going into future, if a credible candidate or a popular candidate emerge, I think that it will be difficult for John. So that's exactly what happened. With regards to the national chairman, you've mentioned in team, I said what happened reminds me of what my mathematics teacher told me, that Mujib, when a door is locked, my dear, and you keep knocking and knocking and knocking, and you don't relax, you don't relent on your effort just to get it open, eventually the door will surely open. That was what exactly happened on the case of Intim. I remember in 2005 in Legon, I was a constituency secretary, therefore a delegate. We came to Accra, it was Intim and then McMenu. So now what we hear there and what happened then and after the election and team lost, then I told myself that this man, probably that was the end of him. But you could see in politics and in life, there are some people, their endurance level and their agility, they can receive shocks from all angles and still be who they are. And I think Intim is a typical example of those kind of people in society. So I witnessed other 3 elections, but the Legon one and Kufuldur one, these 2 elections, a lot of things happened which I wouldn't want to go into details, but eventually they say time is everything. When your time is up, your time is up. Nothing can stop you from getting it. So last Saturday, you could see overwhelmingly, I think he had more votes than any other contestants in the elections, especially those who won. He had over a little, I think, 410, 4,010 votes. Yeah, so that's significant. So it means that, you can say maybe probably people from OT, people from Upper West region, how were they communicating? And then people from Asankore, how were they communicating among themselves and just decided that to just reward this man who has been in the trenches with them, who are seeking the office of the national chairman to serve the New Patriotic Party. They decided to give him this overwhelmingly endorsement. I think that is significant. And for Intim, I think he has to live up to expectation and then justify the confidence the party reposed on him as the national chairman. And if you look at the votes, it will tell you that the people really have confidence in him. So I am praying for him, and I know who he is because he's not a new person. Before 2005, he was the first national vice chairman of the party. I remember being an executive, he used to give us this letterheads. I think every 3-4 months, your letterheads bundles will come. That's what donated by Stephen Tim. That's why we used to do correspondences, writing letters to national, regional, and all. So he has been there and served under Haruna Seku, who was the national chairman then. So he understands the nuances and understands the operations at that high level. So I don't have any doubt that Intim will not succeed as a national chairman of the New Patriotic Party. With the position of the national organizer, that too, you could see that other surprises today, because when I saw Titus Glover, having been a member of parliament, deputy minister of transport, but he came in a little bit late. But I love his campaign because he was not bringing delegates to the regional centers to talk to them. He was visiting delegates at their constituency level. I am coming to your constituency. Where is your constituency office? That is where we have to have the meeting. And Sena, that in itself is good, because as somebody who is aspiring to serve at the high level, it gives you an opportunity to know the state of the party at the constituency level. You don't want to be a national organizer where if you go to Krachi in Chimuru, you don't know the state of your party there. You go to Wa Central, you don't know the state, whether Wa Central has constituency office, whether the constituency, if they have, whether they are renting or is the party owns it. So all these things is important. So I told people that the way Titus was campaigning, he was going to cause surprises. Ask me why. Prior to 2014 election, Congress in Tamale, that was how Kobna Japan campaigned. He never, some will go because of a lot of factors. They want to bring all delegates from the constituencies to the regional level. Maybe if there are 10 or 11 constituencies, you give them time, they all converge. Then in a big hall, you talk to them, your message, and then everything, and then they go. Others will say, no, I will take, when I get to the regional capital, after meeting the regional executives, then I will take my campaign to the constituencies. And Kobna, that was his strategy, and he did that. And some it works, and it works. So I was not surprised to see Titus winning in 13 regions out of the 16. Number one, having entered the race lead, and when you listen to him, was did indicate that there were resource challenge, that he wanted to hit the ground. He couldn't because sometimes his resources were limited. But he did extremely very well to my liking. He did extremely very well, and I think that it's a guide to me and many others that maybe in future, if you want to enter this race, you know how to structure your campaign. With the issue of the youth organizer, Salam started way long before some of his colleagues joined, Abanga, Poop, and the rest joined. But it was obvious at a point that Salam was winning the election. You get to the treasurer, Dr. China, CNN, and many Mary Poch were there. But the delegates have decided. So I am happy, and I know many MPP people, members are happy. So now it was incident-free Congress that we held in Accra Sports Stadium, which we thank the Almighty God for that. And after the Congress, didn't hear anything but delegates who travel across the country to converge in Accra got back to their various destinations safely. So we thank the Almighty God. So that is MPP, and you can always trust the New Patriotic Party. And no wonder we are the pace setters of democracy in the country, and we have always ahead of our peers when it comes to internal organization and contributing to enhancement of the national democratic space in this country. You can go to electoral reforms. When you go, you see MPP, what we have done since 1992 up to now, contributing to electoral reforms in this country. And that is clear. Everybody, even my sister, I know she's aware of all those things. So you can trust MPP. So when we say, indeed, we will break the 8, not that there's something fishy or there's something we are harboring. It is the track records of the New Patriotic Party vis-a-vis the promises and the developments we are giving to the people of Ghana. I know we'll get there. It's part of your topics. But so far, so good. That's the New Patriotic Party. Forward ever.
Thank you. Thank you, Mujib Rahman. Let me do a few messages. This is Swalesu Governor, who is joining us. Says, I am a regular listener of Pan-African television. We have sinned against God for making a deliberate mistake for bringing this nation workers, the MPP government, to power. Our children who didn't vote will not forgive us. This government, Nana government, will go down as the worst government in the history of Ghana. He's listening from Willensi in the northern region. Philip Abuchi is joining us. He says, good morning. They always said they've created jobs for the youth. Yes, 65% of youth are unemployed. When His Excellency John Mahama said he will review the free SHS, Nanado and his communicators were saying John Mahama will cancel the free SHS. Today, what are they doing? Says super incompetent MP leaders. That is Philip Abucha. Abdul Kadir Katariga says, I'm doing the monitoring from Tamale. Okay, whether new or old leadership in the MPP will change nothing. Okay, so nothing different will come out of it. I think that's the point you are trying to communicate. Gafao Jantong is also joining us. The leaders that the MPP delegates chose are the leaders that will send them to opposition by Allah's name. The high cost of living that MPP brought into this country is so unbelievable. Sena, please, okay, thank you very much. This is Suleimana Abdul Rahim says this current newly elected officers of the MPP will make 2024 election easier for President Mahama, looking at the infighting they have started. That is coming from AU Farouk.
What's infighting?
Tamale says, good morning to you, Sena, and to your able panelists, especially Honorable Sweeney. Ghana is not broke. The country is just suffering from thievery. The thieves amass wealth, organize a sharing fair at Accra Sports Stadium, and share the stolen monies for a few among themselves. A country running to IMF for bailout, broke, couldn't have had this for sharing by people managing your taxes. I'll go to Jifa next on the issue. Jifa, good morning.
Good morning, Sena. And thank you for this opportunity. This is a very, very interesting topic, and I seem to be privileged to talk about it, especially because it's in the opposition, the current party in power. A lot of events happened. I'd like to say good morning to my fellow panelists here, Uncle Kwesi, my favorite uncle.
Mujib, and I'll reply his propaganda very soon. And my Honorable Alhaji, let's just go straight to the topic. A lot of things happened during the contest. It was a very eventful one. I mean, we saw the whole of the NPP gathered in the Accra Sports Stadium for these elections. And one of the results that I was looking so much out for was that of my former boss, Asama Boateng, who, I mean, people who go deeply into politics will understand and know that there was very little chance for him winning. Not to say he didn't do well, he did well. But the force with which Intim was coming is a force that had been gathered 20 years back and couldn't have been overturned by the first time Asamoah Boateng was contesting. So better luck to him next time. I hope. My former boss, I have some grievances with him, but you know, we just attach maturity to a lot of things that we do whenever we are taking any journey. Significantly, there was a time where, you know, the NDC came to give their speech, and Deputy Secretary Otokono came out very boldly, and I just loved that speech he gave. He came on behalf of the party, and the truth is, he touched on a spot that people had forgotten over there. You know, on that day, the Accra Sports Stadium had become a world where people gathered in, probably were all concentrated on the elections and had forgot for a moment what was going out, you know, in the system. And Otukono did his best to remind us. I remember when he mentioned that, I mean, people were there, you know, some delegates were there, some were there to contest and, you know, campaign, some were ready, some had done their jobs. It was the cocoa season for others, be it that is the delegates, because they knew that they were going to harvest a lot of money from the candidates. And to the mass majority, it was another day of suffering, bleeding, terrible economic situation in the country. And that is what the primary situation was, no matter what was happening. But then there is something that shocked me a little bit. I know, and today Mujib here will agree, that the economic situation is terrible. I mean, even the president and the vice president and whoever cares has come out to admit that. So I don't know who would even oppose that. That the situation is so terrible, we have nothing. After all the e-levies and whatever, there is nothing to offer people. People are not being paid, workers, teachers have gone on strike, and several things. So in my mind, or in the mind of my mother who is in the market somewhere, or my uncle who is doing carpentry somewhere, Ghana needs sika no ahye. But if you go down and understand and appreciate the amount of money that was shared, the vote buying that was done, it will amaze you. Millions of dollars. Those who couldn't afford were doing millions of cedis, millions of dollars. Being the foundation, or should I say, being prepared for just that day, sharing per delegate. This is not small money. This is supposed to be a country that is in jeopardy, a country that is walking to IMF, as we said. It reminds me of when Akufo-Addo boarded a luxurious private jet to go to France to decide to tell the whites that they should let go of the loans that we owe them. It reminds me that beggars go and then show so much arrogance. This is a country. And I must say that in standing in the place of politicians, and I am not discriminating, I'm not, should I say, referring to any particular party here, but in all parties, this attitude of vote buying has to be brought down. It's killing the system, and it is feeding delegates. And so these days, delegates are only concentrated on what they are going to get instead of concentrating on the right candidate to bring to power. I cannot mention certain details because I would have to use alleged in quotes, and probably I would have to go into details about mentioning amounts of monies, but millions of money, from the chairmanship to the secretaries to the organizers, they were sharing. At a point in time, my own former boss, once again Asabi, when things were going very, very sour for him, ran to one TV presenter, I think it was Annie from Metro TV, crying to her that my opponent being Stephen in team was sharing so much money, it was turning his own people against him. I laughed because I heard that he had shared some, and even Joy FM had published what he was sharing. So I think that we have to desist from such acts and then discourage it. This vote buying thing is gradually destroying our political system and our political parties. But not to draw us back. You know, whenever there is an event, there is a star ceremony or there is a star part of the event. And in this case, it was the General Secretary position where our star winner was Fojwo JFK, and our star loser, let me use that, was John Boedu. I just sat back and was happy with the joy that loss gave to people. The joy that John Boedu losing brought to people. It was a very clear and strong message that the grassroots was passing on. Congratulations to JFK anyway. The way he has been able to take over shows that a lot of people will be demanding so much from him. They say, to whom much is given, much is expected. And to John Boedu, every time I have seen John Boedu on TV or on radio, he has shown some level of arrogance, a high level of disrespect, a very loud mouth and sharp mouth, so uncouth and uncultured. That is how I'm able to describe John Boedu. There are some locals who probably value his disrespect to everybody and anybody. But honestly, for somebody of such a political party, that is the NPP and the General Secretary for that matter, I thought he was in the wrong position. I don't wish any good for NPP. I mean, I wish they are just off, but let's just be... Mujib here is my friend. No, I don't wish you good. Mujib here is my...
That we are out of power.
That is it. Well, that is what I mean. I know. Mujib here is my friend. I wish him all the best. And I just look, I have friends in NPP. I just look into their party, and then sometimes you can have thoughts. I mean, this person is just the wrong person for the position that he's occupying. And that is the thoughts that I kept having about John Boedu whenever I saw him. The arrogance had gone on so much. You can hear that every one of his previous followers kept repeating, this guy is an Idija person. Idija means that he doesn't take care of his people. He doesn't sort his people out. When I say sort, help people, because they are supporting you because of something. They are supporting you because they think that you can help them get into better places in life or guide them. He doesn't do that. And the worst part is that there is that idea that he spends his money in lavish lifestyles and on unnecessary things, leaving behind the people that made you, put you in a position that is far above you. People had planned, but I must say that I was caught by surprise because I thought that what had happened to Woon-Tumi in his elections, well, of course, we feared delegates once again because everyone was saying that they were going to uproot Woon-Tumi, and then he eventually succeeded in buying votes. I thought the same thing was going to happen to John Boedu. Truth be told, from my sources, he did attempt to buy votes. Buy them well, actually. It is just that sometimes people can decide to be fools for a long period of time, but one day they will tell you to fear them. When the 16 regional NPP regional chairmen all came out openly to support John Boedu, I was like, wow, this guy has made it. This guy will win once again. That is what I thought myself. Because how is he able to secure all 16 regional chairmen? And they say, whatever God does is good. It has helped me as a young politician to realize where power actually lies. 16 regional chairmen coming together openly. It was 15. That is 99%. Coming together to support one person. These are, you know, the chairmanship is not like getting a youth organizer. A chairman is somebody who is leading the entire constituency. And so it's like assuring us that if I, the chairman, is for you, more than half of my people are for you. That is what it meant. And they came out in support. And so I said, no, this man has made it. Despite the complaints, despite the apathy on the ground, he has made it. And what happened? JFK once again swept him off his feet, and that was the end for him. And I sat back, and all I thought is, this is where power lies. Power lies with the people. And so anyone going into any contest thinking that one particular leader is going to turn things around for them is a liar. This is where power lies. It's not that chairmen are no more influential or powerful, but you have to account for everyone, to everyone individually, to the secretary, to the women organizer, and even to co-opted members and appointed members. You would have to account to them. And so it was a failed cause. John Boadu lost woefully. And today he is a laughing stock. And I am grateful for the grassroots sending the strong message that Ube DJ, you will do it a lot, but one day your deeds will catch up with you. And that is what John Boadu went through. I hope that as a young politician and people who are looking would be able to make sense out of this and probably learn who we are supposed to take care of, who we are supposed to listen to when we come to power. Now, I want to touch a little bit on the vote buying again, because it's quite sincere, it's quite serious. Generally, after we did everything, after the NPP went for this contest, they said it was successful, but they have just passed the stronger message to Ghanaians that the money not being in the system as they are claiming is all hoarded up in the corridors of power. That is what these people are using the monies for. There are so many things that Nanado and Baumia and Alan Tremantin can do for the country as we sit here. There are so many things that they can sit together and organize for us as we sit. But unfortunately, because of greed, because of, I don't know whether I should call it extreme hunger, I don't think it is, but because of greed, because of their loss of feelings for what the Ghanaian, the typical Ghanaian is going through, it has all ended up in family, friends, and a little bit extended to, you know, those we know as a political party. I remember our former president, Johnny Valsatamels, whenever these things happen, because he was one of the presidents who clearly thought everybody should be involved, to the extent that it looked like it was a mistake on his part. Because when people were saying, no, NDC brought you to power, so you should only concentrate on NDC, for him, it was, I am the father for everyone. And so whoever you are, whatever your political or religious affiliation, he was dedicated into helping you when he had the chance to. But this is not what we see on the other side. And unfortunately, this is breeding a culture that will not help in future. A culture where we are only attending to those that we have seen by face or those we think we know, and forgetting that we are a country as a whole. This is what the NPP has been encouraging, have been breeding for a long time now, and they have shown that over there. There were some vote buying that was 3,500 cedis and more for a candidate each. And this is not just for the national election, it happened in the regional elections. And it is so bad. You see, Mujib will always interject.
I don't want us to disagree.
Mujib will always interject. But he knows what I am saying is true.
Where is the people
Mujib will keep interjecting.
Claims
but he knows what I'm saying is true.
So don't fall on it. Of course, elections, people will just... You can't do elections without money.
Yeah, okay.
You see,
you can't do elections without money. That is
she's making a point of it, but
oh my God,
on concrete evidence that from
Mujib, are you denying it?
He can even take some people.
Mujib, are you denying it?
Oh man,
the truth stands. You see, he's burning in his teeth.
No, but I'm not.
Because I am hitting the nail right on the head. Mujib is burning.
I only want
Sena,
to situate it in proper
Sena, I will
context.
just make a very swift conclusion here, and then I'll just say that the vote buying is proof that there is so much hoarding of money somewhere. People who have decided or who came to us to lead the economy have hoarded everything in their houses and using it for vote buying when it comes to these constituents. Imagine the amount of money John Boadu lost, for instance. At the end of the day, he didn't even get what he wanted. Imagine what went on with KG Mfua. Imagine what went on with Stephen Ayensu in team. Even my own former boss, I said, Joy FM published the amount that he said he had shared. That was 400 cities. Times how many delegates? 28 times 275. Somebody, maybe Mujib can do that calculation for me. But that is the amount in millions of Ghana cedis. And that was just for the final day. So I wish that beyond the wins, beyond the losses and everything that went on, NPP foot soldiers will sit behind and look at the bigger picture of what actually went on the day at Accra Sports Stadium. Look at the bigger picture from what somebody may have received individually and seen how Ghana was losing on that very day. So whilst you're saying your congratulations and you're expressing your sympathies to those who lost, the bigger picture is, yet again, the people who are leading us are just dismantling, continuously dismantling the economy as we sit here and spending unnecessarily, all in the name of their comfort. And so I advise people that in everything that we do, look at the bigger picture. In everything that we do, realize that this government is a failure in all directions. They have no good to offer. And it is just fair that we say it to their faces. But whatever be the case, I would also thank the delegates and encourage that people learn that attitude. Even if I take your money and you haven't done it well, you are going to be displaced. You are going to be taken out of power. That is how it's supposed to be. What happened to John Boedu is a very loud message that was sent. I commend it. And tomorrow, if he decides to contest for any other position or be appointed in any other position, he will learn sense on how to manage the people that brought him to power or how to manage his position. And it's not all about insults. It's not all about jabs. That is how the political system will develop, or should I say, will have a healthy attitude going towards. So, Sena, I'll end it here, and I'll just leave my brother Mujib to ponder on his own thoughts and decide why he knows he's opposing the truth that I am saying. Thank you very much.
I'm not opposing what we are saying, but when we all know, not today, not this just ended Congress, that it is an issue in our body politics in terms of monetization. So MPs after elections, they complain during their primaries and main election. It is something that is creeping in our politics. That is no good. I think after the regional conferences, elections of the New Patriotic Party, somebody, I think a contestant who lost, came out and said if care is not taken, before we realized there will be other barons that will hijack our political system in this country. That one, no one can disagree. If you are not a victim of it, but it has happened to you, and the most important thing is that when it's like that, you don't get quality of leadership. Because,
yeah.
Pardon?
See, you are taking it.
You are getting a
Anyway.
second.
No, I'm not getting, no, I'm not, no. You see, I'm not getting that.
Hold those thoughts. I'll be back to you. Because this is, let me say a big thank you to True FM 92.5 in Ade, so Zebs FM 95.9 megahertz in Zebila. Very good morning to Vote TV, Global FM 105.1 in Hope. There's Benya FM in Elmina 105.7, Radio Kitao in Saboba on 95.7. We are live on Bewa Radio in Yendi on 106.5, Diamond FM Tamale 93.7, Sela Radio in Dabala 97.1, Nyawasi Radio in Katekrachi 89.7, Hales FM Adaklu 91.7, and Shine FM in Akachi 96.9 FM. A big thank you to all of them. Just a few messages and I'll come to Nombo Suhini. Samikwe is joining us. Kaswa says, my congratulations to all the elected national executive of the New Patriotic Party. Ghanaians are waiting whether NDC can do same now. Now that Kuku is asking the NDC to tell Ghanaians what killed late Professor Mills. That's coming from Samikwe. There's also Haruna Jibril who is watching us. Says, regards to Council Mujib Rahman, he's doing a fantastic job this morning. You should keep on making us proud. I'm not sure you're a council yet. Almost there. Closer. There's also Al-Hassan Hamdan who is joining us. We all agree that the economic problem facing Ghana are self-inflicted by the recklessness of the party of the government. You can't be flying around the world like an Arabian king borrowing as if there is no tomorrow, making corruption and social intervention, and expect the economy to be the same. The hard fact is President Akufo-Addo has no idea about governance. We are not serious as a nation where human beings are still competing with animals for good drinking water. When we are using more than 200 million to build a cathedral, and we have mature people defending this. Good morning to you, Abna Pokia. Is it Abna Pokiaka? Is there any attempt by the government to denigrate the image, identity, and legacy of Nkrumah shall undoubtedly be resisted? The Danko Abusia tradition should by now know the obvious distinction between Nkrumah and others. They should stop this fossilized behavior and give respect and honor to Alhaji for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah to move this country. She's talking about our second discussion that's coming up after this one. Yes, Thomas Esther says GM is going to win the next election based on his sterling track record as king of infrastructure and development, incorruptible, purely democratic and tolerant leader. Nana Addo Baumia Kenuforiata and their corrupt government have totally destroyed the country and caused a lot of suffering for the people. Mohamed Abdul Baki says, Sena, newly posted teachers are suffering. 6 months of service, no staff ID, not to talk of doing biometric for salaries to be paid. There's also Anthony Aves, and I think we, the citizens of this country, must put pressure on the finance minister to resign because that ministry is not his property. Mark Morrison, Achu says, I think the real focus of the NPP shouldn't be breaking the 8. Breaking the 8 is no achievement if basic necessities are lacking. If prices of basic goods are constantly skyrocketing daily, if there are salary and service agitation among workers, if big men enjoy and they tell us to tighten our belts, breaking the 8 is a misplaced priority. CJ, Sena, I feel really bad about John Boydu's loss. For just as our neighbors in the sub-region started trooping in to work in the factories in the air, his own unemployed delegates showed him the exit. Eriko Kusapanu is joining us, saying a good morning to us. Sharing of monies at the MPP just ended delegates conference, pure monetization of our political process election mechanism, with this concomitant effect of choosing square pegs, tribal bigots, cronies, and persons without credibility to rule over us. The current government in power is a pointer to these facts. There's Dennis Akwete, who is also joining us. Says the MPP per his constitution had to elect new executives anyway, and we congratulate them for the smooth process, except to bemoan the monetization of the process, which is not exclusive to the MPP anyway. And we have to be worried about this as a nation. However, it was not only distasteful, nauseating, and reprehensible, but insulting to say at least the least. As one listened to the top echelon of the governing MPP party at this Congress still talking, breaking the 8 at this very moment of excruciating hardship we are in today in Ghana. It is so irritating, and if one is not measured as to what to say on this, he or she may be misconstrued. Shalom, he ends. That's how he concludes. And Audu Musa, let me end on Audu Musa. The most insensitive families and friends I have ever seen in the Fourth Republic. When Ghanaians are going through excruciating hardship, the NPP is preaching about breaking the 8. Honorable, good morning.
Good morning, Sena, and let me say good morning to my colleagues, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. Sena, let me begin by congratulating our party, the National Democratic Congress, for the successful opening of nominations. You will recall that the General Secretary of the party held a press conference about a week today, at which the processes that will lead up to the election of new officers to manage the party for the next 4 years were announced. It was put in zones, and fortunately the northern sector is where the whole process was to start from. It has successfully begun from the 20th to 21st. The new registers were exhibited, and where there was the need to make corrections, those corrections were done. What we are currently having is the filing of nominations at the various branches across the northern region. So it was to be from 22nd to 23rd. Today is the last day for the filing of nominations. And then from 24th to 25th, we will have the vetting of candidates for the branch elections. And then 26th July 2022, we will have, if there's the need to be, there will be appeals. Before then, the elections will be conducted. So I just want to congratulate our rank and file for taking this exercise seriously, because it is the basis upon which we will fight the next elections. A party is stronger at the base, and that is why we have decided as a party to focus more attention and time on getting things right, the basics right. And I'm sure when we do and get very dedicated, hardworking and committed branch executives, it will culminate in us choosing same for the constituency, for the regions, and then eventually for the national positions. And that will also make way for the endorsement of the flag bearer that we all know, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who will lead us into the general elections.
MPP Congress.
Well, it is
yet
not,
to start.
It is
or
not.
It has started.
It is just.
So let us know if that is what
It
you
has
want
started.
to tell viewers.
It has started.
No, but he has that.
Just to
No.
say. He said just to say.
It has started. It has started. Our process has started. Yours has
But
ended.
that is not what we are discussing.
I'm not making it a topic. I'm making it an intro, and reminding our rank and file, to take the process serious, because that is how we can also come to an end. Just as the NPP has come to an end, that will be better than the end that they have come to. And that will actually put us in a better stead to fight the 2024 general election. So once again, I commend all those who are, spearheading this process, and I pray that we will come out stronger than before. Now to the new patriotic parties, Congress. Mujib was eager. Now you will hear what you were eager to hear. I'll congratulate you, first of all.
Thank you, bro.
As a party for organizing an incident-free, Congress. It was without any violence, any, disagreements that were visible. And so, to that extent, we congratulate the new patriotic party for not destroying the beauty of the stadium that they met. Just that I'm sure they broke a few chairs and perhaps have also, affected the green grass. But we congratulate them. Now, the outcome of the Congress points to a certain fact. And for me, it is disheartening. One would have thought that having lost control of the country, and I'm referring here to the new patriotic party in government, one would have thought that having lost control of the country, they would have, at least those of them in power, exhibited a certain level of control over their party. But it seems to me that it is not the country, it is not only the country that they have lost control over. They seem to have lost control over their party as well, even though they have the power of the purse and they are in government. It clearly tells you that they are not only mismanaging the economy and mismanaging almost every sector in the country, which has resulted in them losing control totally. But even within, the proceeds of their recklessness is such that it is provocative to the rank and file of their party. And so anything that they touch gets bent. Because clearly, Stephen Tim was not their candidate, but he was not a candidate to contest. Stephen Tim was not a candidate of the system, of those in government, but he was not a candidate to contest. Why? Because over the years, he has been in the race, 20 years now. He has put himself up and he has been resisted by these same people over the years. But to his credit, he has conducted himself so well that they have come to accept that he is predictable and perhaps manageable, and perhaps they can survive under him if they behave well. And so clearly, I mean, he was a compromise candidate. They did not have a choice but to, pretend that they were with him, because they could not have put up a candidate that would do any better against Stephen and Tim. And so, clearly, he was a candidate not to contest. And because they did not oppose him, the lot fell on the incumbent General Secretary, who unfortunately did not read in between the lines and express his desire to go again. Perhaps it would have been better for him to have also exited with Freddie Blay, who saw the writing on the wall. Because the anger of the rank and file of the party towards the governing class in the party is palpable, and it can be felt by any political watcher. And so anything they touch was going to be destroyed. And so I don't even blame John Boadu so much for his loss. You can criticize his conduct and his administration, but to a very large extent, John Boadu's loss is attributable to the inefficiencies and ineffectiveness of the governing class in his party. And because there was that perception that they still wanted him to stay, the delegates of the party had to send a signal. Why? At the stadium, those who were there will tell you that there were even talks about reshuffling for Nana Akufo-Addo, since he has refused to reshuffle. And so once they do not have the opportunity to reshuffle those who are ministers, they will reshuffle those who are in the party. And there was that talk in the stadium that if the president has refused to reshuffle, they'll reshuffle for him. And so once they saw, and especially Gabi's tweet did not do John Boadu any good at all. Once they saw that Flagstaff House candidate, the Flagstaff House candidate, or the Jubilee House candidate was John Boadu, I mean, he became a game to be hunted. And no matter what he did, he was not going to survive the onslaught. Because it was the anger of the masses against the system. And these were MPP people who had gathered and were determined to express their anger against the system that is governing all of us. That should tell you the level of despondency in the system. And that is why John Boadu suffered the defeat that he suffered. Why are the people angry? They may not be angry because the education system is in a mess. They may not be angry because, almost every sector in this country is in arrears and the economy is so bad, and the price of kenke, as they were reminded, is like 5 cedis now, even though the leaves alone is 3 cedis. It depends on where you buy it and the size. They may not be angry even about the prices of goods that you can no longer predict. But they are angry because they believe that despite all these challenges, some people within them are living lavishly and are enjoying. And that is why they were angry. And for me, that is what the outcome of the election speaks to. They're Didija. And so even if within the MPP, the Didija is felt in the manner that it was expressed through their votes, it should tell you how the country is suffering. And that is why the people needed to send a message to them that it is not just the country that they have lost control over, but even the party, they are losing control as well. You see, like I said, it was always going to be very difficult for John Boadu to maintain his position. Yes, there was vote buying. I know he bought some, but I also even hear from sources that there was a last minute 3 million Ghana cedis that was supposed to be moved that was stopped. Thank God that it was stopped. Those who know what I'm saying know what I'm saying. Do you understand? I am not going to go into the details. But those who know what I am saying know what I'm saying. That there was a last minute 3 million Ghana cedis that was supposed to be moved. That was stopped. Thank God that it was stopped. Because it wouldn't have made any impact. Now this also tells us something about the monetization of our politics. You see, and maybe before I come to the monetization, let me share with you something that has also been making, that has been circulating in social media, because our brother here was asking for evidence. Now, this is a notepad, notepads that were given to delegates, and one of them, I think, unfortunately, forgot to carry his or hers away, and it was found after they had left the venue. It's a notepad with the inscription "Holding Together, Working Together, National Annual Delegates Conference 2022, Accra Sports Stadium," with pictures of Freddie Blay, John Boadu, the vice president, and the president, Nana Akufo-Addo. Now, in the notepad are names, pen-written names with amounts attached to it. I can show to you with amounts attached to it. And this was actually supposed to be for the OT region, because the person who wrote it signed. So you have Honorable Chum. It was actually a list of donors to the OT region. You can call them donors, not vote buyers, but donors, to the OT region team that came to the Congress. So you have Honorable Paul Chum, MP, Doma East, right? He gave the OT region 2,000 Ghana. Then you have Henry Nana Boachi, first donation, 1,007 Ghana. Then you have Honorable Titus Glover, 6,800. You have Henry Nana Boachi, second donation, 8,500. Then you had Opong Pepra, 500 Ghana. Omari Wadie, 2,500. You have Wood, I don't know who that is, 1,000. You have Kutin, 8,500. JFK, 17,000 Ghana cedis. Honorable Kisi, 4,800. Asabi, 8,500. And then into bracket shared. It means they had shared that one already. Then you have Stephen and Tim, 8,500 into bracket shared. Then you have Mary something, 1,500. Stephen and Tim, 8,500. Professor Mia Kumfi, 9,400. So Stephen Tim actually appeared twice. Then you have John Boadu, 25,500 Ghana cedis. And the list goes on and on and on. Please let me finish. Please let me finish. Please let me finish. You can take note. You can take note of what you want to say. So now this is evidence of the kind of money that was shared there. I mean, you can see the names are varied, the amounts are varied, and that is why somebody said that the IMF didn't need to organize money to give us any bailout. All they needed to do was to go to the Accra Sports Stadium, and they would have been able to gather enough money to give Ghana a bailout. But let us speak in general about the monetization of our politics. And first of all, let me make the point that maybe some political watchers may miss. The fact that something that money is everything. And that is why I said, thank God that the 3 million Ghana cedis I heard was going to be moved last minute didn't move. Because there comes a point in politicking where money or the effect of it is limited. The effect of money is limited. You can push as much money as you have. But at the end of the day, when the people especially are upset with the system, no amount of money can change their views again. And this is a message to those who think that they are building war chests so that they can buy the 2024 general elections. It has never worked for any incumbent government, and it's not going to work. They tried it in the 2020 general elections, and perhaps at that time, the anger in the system was not as palpable as it is today. And that is another leg of my conversation. Money plays a role. You cannot discount the role of money in campaigning and in politicking. But it is only to the extent that the people are not ready for a change yet. When the people are ready for a change and they think that you are not serving them well, it does not matter how much money you give them. They will take it and they will still vote and fight you out. And that is what was happening at the Accra Sports Stadium. They will take the money, but they will still vote you out. We have seen candidates without money win elections against people with money bags. I have witnessed campaigns where people have actually taken monies of, people with their money bags and donated to their favorite candidate who didn't have that much to give them. So our system is not that rotten yet. We just have to make sure that we protect it from the, infection of those who think that money is the only way, to get leadership and think that everyone has a price. So to that extent, I will say that people have to take note that money is not everything. But having said this, it is important that we do not behave as ostriches and like angels and think that it is only limited to what happened at the Accra Sports Stadium when the NPP gathered. It is an issue that every political campaign suffers these days. The monetization of the process is worrying, is disturbing, and we need to confront it as a people and have that difficult conversation of how to deal with it. The, best politician these days is the politician who sorts people out. I think if I use that term, who sorts out. Who sorts the people out. And that for me is dangerous. Yes, a politician must not be greedy. A politician must be in your nature to want to share if you want to lead. It must be in your nature to want to share whatever you have. But that should not be the yardstick to measure the performance of people who put themselves up to lead. Exactly. But gradually, we seem to be getting there, where no matter the brilliant ideas that you share, no matter the commitment that you have to service, if you are not able to pass the buck around, the dough around, you do not really stand a chance against people who have the money. And that for me is something we have to watch. And especially when we in the NDC are undergoing a similar process that the NPP has concluded. And that was why I began on the note of the NDC. Even at the branch level, our focus when we consider people for positions should not be about, alliances. It should not be about, those who can fund, our selfish needs. It should be about those with the commitment and the time and the dedication to work day and night, no matter the hour of day. If the party calls, will they be ready to step out? Those should be our considerations when we choose party officers at that level. And I believe when we do that, because such people tend to be disciplined and such people tend to be, committed to party causes, it will reflect in the leaders that they will also choose for the constituencies. And so even at the constituency level, when the contest begin, such people who are picked at the branch level, who are not money conscious, will not care about who has money to give them or not. They will focus on who is ready to partner them at the branch level to advance the cause of the party. And they will choose such people at the constituency level. And eventually such people will also choose, people with the same qualities at the regional level and at the national level, which will make our party strong. Now, I think that the NDC attempted to address this issue of money when we, in 2015, experimented with expanding our delegates, system by allowing the masses to vote. I think it was a brilliant idea. you know, when the party decided to change it, some of us were against that decision. Because for me, and because we're against it, people thought that, you know, we were threatened because we're beneficiaries of that system. Because clearly, to be honest with you, I would not have been a member of parliament if we were using the delegate system in 2015. By the time I went to my constituency, the delegates had already decided on who they were supporting. And it was going to be very difficult to convince the delegates, you know, to shift their positions. But when they opened it up, you know, and everyone with a party card was able to vote, it limited the vote buy. And per my research, in all our constituencies, the most popular candidates emerged. The most popular candidates emerged. And that is why in the 2016 general elections, in my view, no independent candidate won on the NDC side. All the independent candidates succeeded in doing was to cost us the seats. Because no independent candidate was more popular than the party candidate. So all those who emerged had more votes than the party independent candidates who emerged. It showed that the system actually produced the most popular candidates. What the system failed to do was to address conflicts properly. Because in every election, and after every election, there will be disagreements and there will be conflicts. So if you do not manage the conflict well, then you pay the price in the elections. So, for example, when you go to Laura, when you go to many of the constituencies that we lost in 2016 as a result of, you know, divisions and independent candidates emerging, those who won the primaries still had more votes than the independent candidates that emerged. What does it tell you? It tells you that they were indeed the most popular and the people actually chose them. But because there was division after the primaries and the party did not manage the divisions very well, it led to a situation where the votes were split and we lost those constituencies. But because we lost the general elections, and people say that, you know, an orphan success has many fathers, failure is an orphan. You know, because we lost the general elections, it became difficult to defend some of these beautiful, you know, initiatives that were introduced, because it became part of the basket, you know, throwing the water away with the baby. We have to throw everything away. But I think, because in my experience, and thank God, after, you know, the 2015 experience, when the party changed it in 2018, and we had to do the delegate system again in 2019, I contested again. And this time around, I still got over 80% using the delegate system. So I am in a proper place, I believe, to speak about the advantages and the disadvantages of both systems. And my experience is that in the expanded delegate system, where everyone with a party card could vote, you could call the bluff of people who wanted to even blackmail you as a candidate. For example, people came to me at that time and said, oh, this is my party card, but I did not pass WASI, but I want to go to nursing training. If you can get it for me, I'll vote you. And I said, go to hell. Go back and rewrite your exams and pass, and I'll help you. I am in a position to help you to gain admission when you qualify, and I'm also in a position to support your education when you qualify. But I'm not going to bend the rules just because you have a party card. Because, you see, the overriding consideration of voters, in my view at the time, was what you were able to do for their communities. So even when you spent money as a candidate, you were spending on development. You went to a community, they needed their streets lit, and you provided street lights, and all the people in that community with membership cards thought that you were the one to vote. You did a road, and the people thought that, I mean, you reshaped it and all of that, and the people thought that, yes, you had the capacity to help the community. So their decisions were based more on communal service and not personal service. But in the delegate system, trust me, he knows it. They call you personally for their personal problems.
Even when you are not coming, they will remind you.
They call you personally for their personal problems. And so every time there's a contest, those people, the people who will vote, forget about the bigger picture of serving the whole community and serving the whole party and begin to concentrate on themselves. And I'm saying if the NDC had stuck to the expanded system and experimented it again for a while, I think we would have fine-tuned it and gotten, for example, the issue of resolving conflicts after it better. And we would have been diminishing the effect of money in our politics. But once we lost the election and we threw all of that away and we have gotten back to the delegate system, which the MPP is also still using, you are still faced with the issue of vote buying. Because the number is that limited. People actually sometimes, I remember the NPP primaries before the 2020 general elections, I spoke to a colleague who actually confessed to me that he had to raise about 5 million Ghana cedis to survive in his primaries, because he had about 3,000 or so delegates that he had to pay money to, about 1,000 Ghana cedis each to, so that they could, about 3,000. I mean, that is where we are going. Meanwhile, in Parliament, I wonder if you can make 5 million Ghana cedis in 4 years. You know, so that is how the conversation began. I mean, how am I going to even make this money I'm paying to delegates? So sometimes we those running for positions are caught between the rock and the hard place. And I think that we need to begin to review our processes of voting to reflect the problems that we have and to deal with those problems, you know, moving forward. Because the desire to serve may be there, but you are also confronted, especially if you have a conscience, with the fact that you have to pay so that you can render the quality service that you believe you can give. And trust me, if you do not, you know, sometimes, you know, work around the system to get elected, it is going to allow those who are not even willing to serve at all to get in and make the system even worse. But whilst we are there, we need to begin to have the conversation of how we can address it. And I think that we must go back as a people, as a party. You know, I can speak to the NDC. I think we must go back to the mass voting system. Currently, we have started a very good process of compiling data and register of members. When we can vouch for the integrity of that register, because that was the other problem we had in the past, where people in some cases even had to get NPP friends to register so they could vote them. You know, if we can vouch for the integrity of the data moving forward, and we know that the people we have on our register are indeed true party members who are willing to pay their dues, even if they don't have the money, but you see their willingness to pay their dues, we must have a way of making it possible for all of them to participate in choosing leaders, you know, at the regional, national, and even members of parliament level. That to some extent can reduce the monetization of our politics. Having said that, let me conclude, however, that it is preposterous to think that anybody can run any campaign without money. Money is something that you cannot do away with when you are running a campaign. And I'm not talking here about political campaign. I'm talking about campaign in every shape and form. Churches run campaigns, and they can speak to the fact that when they are putting together a campaign, they need to raise funds to, you know, wage that campaign. Institutions, you know, have, you know, undertake campaigns. So it is the same with political campaigns. But the problem is with when there is abuse as we see it, when there is corruption as we see it, and when there is, you know, dulling of conscience just because money shows up. That is what we need to confront and deal with. And I believe, again, legislation can help. Like in some jurisdictions, and like it happens in, you know, churches and others, there must be some level of transparency as to how the funds are raised and spent. We can pass laws, for example, that will allow for lobbying and regularize lobbying, because it happens. But it happens behind the scenes and in the dark. And so it seems like corruption. It looks like corruption. And it indeed corrupts. But when you have the regulations known by all and the processes of supporting a candidate established, so when you believe in a particular candidate as an institution or as a person, and you donate to the person's campaign, there must be a record of it. And there must also be a corresponding report on how the donation is utilized. But because we do not have that, people donate to campaigns, institutions donate to campaigns, and the politicians either spend it or not, because there's no process of it also reporting. And because of that, then it looks corrupt, and it does indeed, in the end, corrupt. But when it is transparent and everybody knows that tobacco company supported candidate A, when he is making policies in favor of tobacco companies, people understand and people know how to deal with it, instead of just calling it corruption. And that is the note that I want to end, Sena. Once again, I will want to congratulate all those who emerge and wish them well in opposition, because that's where they are headed. I once again will just want to reiterate the point that the outcome reflects the fact that those in government have not only lost control of the country, but they have actually lost control of their own party. And it's as a result of their edidija, their wickedness, their greed, and their exclusive, way of ruling.
Thank you very much.
I
think you have to take a note of this, and then we'll come back when it gets to your turn, then you can go through all of them. If not, I'd have to keep coming back to you. This is Eric Okusepanu, who says, "And breaking the 8th agenda of the NPP is another grand agenda of the stolen verdict repetition of 2020 elections. The 2020 was rigged by the NPP and NEC." Haruna Jibril says, "Good morning to us watching. Humble regards to the president in waiting, Honorable Alain Kojo Chemantin, who is the only credible and marketable personality to lead the great NPP. And besides, the way is clear for him, because the delegates and the grassroots have demonstrated at Accra Sports Stadium last Saturday. Sena, the fact is, Alan is next to lead and best to lead. Audu Musa, if these are the executives going to break the 8, then the least said about them, the better." CJ says, "Welcome, Mujib. I was hoping you will be very interested. Say you'll be somewhere near a buffer stock loading food for revised free pay SH senior high school student." This is Abbas Amagobo. He says, "President Nanado is a failed leader. He's not addressing pressing issues facing Ghanaians. He's not visionary enough and engaging in policy contradictions. You rolled out free SHS without any source of funding, engage in excessive borrowing, and indulge in corruption. Ghanaian presidency should not be a journey of self-discovery in this challenging economic environment." Magdo is joining us. Said that here Mujib saying the MPP is a pace setter in democracy. What happened to the people in their party that hold different views? That's what the president wants it. What happens to Polafoko and Kobna Japan? Is they sacking democratic or save Ghana? Abdul Salam Kasaugo is joining us. Says a good morning. They have opted to elect new executive who will lead them to opposition. To those who lost, they should blame Russia-Ukraine war and COVID. MPP, never again. When you ask them why they were borrowing so much, collateralizing our resources, depleting our resources, drawing on our heritage fund, etc., they will say we are implementing social intervention projects. Out of 209 billion Ghana cedis this government borrowed between 2017 and 2021, only 15.5 billion of money borrowed was spent on all so-called social intervention programs combined. When you are a liar, your data will take you to the IMF. Monday William Jikono is also joining us. Says a good morning. Senator, tell MPP people any propaganda against John Dramani Mahama, they will never succeed because he is the husband mistakenly rejected by the liars of Akufo-Addo and Bawumia government. He's coming back and NDC will stay in power for another 20 years if they behave well. Sam Olama says this is what happens when power is handed over to the highest bidders, irrespective of their cluelessness and their corrupt nature. Asanko sent that from Santa Maria. Yakubu Asana says good signal should be sent to the President of the Republic and his Vice President that economic pressure on Ghanaians are building up. They should be sharp because the repercussions will be great. Issa Adams, Gabi Ochudako's open campaign for John Boydu was an endorsement of the Jubilee House. Their own delegates demonstrated their revulsion by voting him out. Let me read positive change in Medina.
who says Akufo-Addo couldn't develop this nation with gold, diamond, bauxite, timber, cocoa, oil, manganese, coffee, etc. Now, $2 billion IMF bill is what he's looking for to develop Ghana. In fact, this government has really wasted 6 years of our lives. Let me go to Mr. Partners. At some point during the campaign, I woke up one morning and the story I read was that John Bodu says he had done better in politics than Mr. Pratt. I was wondering whether he had joined the race to be General Secretary. How with you?
Well, look, I think that we have to appreciate the fact that the New Patriotic Party has been in steady decline. And that this Congress was seen by some party stalwarts as a means of arresting the decline. If you look at the New Patriotic Party and you look at its officers before this election and compare that to the New Patriotic Party in 1992, the difference is obvious. You cannot overlook the fact that this is a party which had Mr. B.J. Darocha as General Secretary. And Mr. B.J. Darocha had such a huge stature, both locally and internationally. He eventually also became national chairman of the party. This is the party which was once chaired by Peter Alhaji, who also became Speaker of Parliament. I mean, in days past, if you were counting regional chairman of the party, you would count people like Dr. Don Kofodwo, Professor Fobi, and so on. They were regional chairpersons of the party. Today, look around. Before this election, see those who were managing this political party. The decline was obvious. You understand? The decline was obvious. Now, the decline also showed in the results declared by the Electoral Commission for the 2020 elections. And I've chosen my words very, very carefully. If you look at the results declared by the Electoral Commission, it showed that there was a party in decline. Why? Look at the parliamentary seats that they managed to win. How many seats did they lose in that election? That is a party in decline. If you take the presidential votes, compared to 2016, the NPP actually shared more than 500,000 votes. That is a party in decline. So before this Congress, I heard many party stalwarts saying that this was the time to reclaim the party and to begin to build the party afresh. So if you want to see this Congress, if you want to judge this Congress, you judge it against the backdrop of a party in decline and an attempt by party stalwarts to rescue that party. Now, I don't think that there were many surprises, from that Congress. There were not many surprises from that Congress. In fact, I was talking to people who were surprised that the General Secretary managed to get the number of votes that he got. Because the expectation was that he was going to be walloped, he was going to be vanquished completely. But he managed to claw more than 40% of the votes. And that's a statement in itself, you understand? If you look at the race for national chairmanship, there was no doubt at all that at some stage, the preferred candidate was Professor Amoyao Ekumfi. And then that changed along the line. And the preferred candidate obviously was Asabi, Mr. Asamoah Boateng and so on. But then I traveled around the country. I spoke to members of the party and so on. In fact, at one stage, I happened to be in Takwa with Mr. Stephen Tim. We were in Takwa for the funeral of the mother of Tobin, Elder Tobin, head of Tobinco. And I saw the crowd reaction to him, and how the crowd, shouted his slogan and so on. And from that point, I said, look, Mr. Stephen Tim has to be taken seriously. You understand? I think that a lot of people expected him to win, in spite of the machinations of those who are in government today. There were serious machinations, against him. And of course, this is not the first time. At one stage, everybody thought that he was going to win the election until the very last minute, when the rumor spread that the current president was uncomfortable with his national chairmanship. Everybody in the party knows this, and so on. This is not strange. So we all had expectations that he was going to win, but again, I thought that the margin was what would surprise a lot of people. Because I'd seen opinion polls earlier, inside the party, conducted by the party, which suggested that the margin of victory was not that big. But this was a fairly big margin of victory. And that is what may surprise people a lot and so on. Now, the elections are over. The party has spoken. The party has made its choice. The party has decided who and who are going to lead it into the election of 2024. So for me, the most important question today is, what is the tax before the new executive? What are they going to do with the power which has been vested in them at this Congress? And Sena, I think the most important exercise today, most important exercise, is the rebuilding of the new patriotic party. The party is in shambles. The new executive has a huge task to reconstruct the party. And I know what I'm talking about. Mujib is a member of the party. And he's sitting here. Mujib, if I'm lying, say so. For a very long time, over the last 6 years, the party headquarters was like a cemetery. I mean, you couldn't find your elected executives. You went to the party headquarters and there was nobody. And that is why the grassroots are complaining that the link between them and their leaders was broken. They couldn't find their leaders. Their grievances, they didn't know where to take them, and so on. Okay? So there's the need to reconstruct the party and to make the party, the leadership of the party, closer to the base of the party. The party headquarters has to function again. And people ought to know where to take their problems to when they do have problems. That party needs reconstruction. No doubt at all about it. That's a major task facing Mr. 17 and his team. The other task that they face is the task of helping the government to do something about the chaos in the country. Look, the country itself is in crisis. The economic situation is worrying, is indeed terrifying. I don't know if you've seen the verdict of Bloomberg, which came out in the course of the week. And they are comparing Ghana to Sri Lanka. I've seen other publications which are comparing Ghana to Lebanon, and so on. So it's a frightening situation. All the local think tanks are seeing doom over the state of the economy. The IFS is the one which came up and said, look, you're spending 128,000% of your total national revenue on debt servicing and public sector emoluments. All the think tanks, local and international, are saying that, look, this economy is in very deep crisis. But you see, we should not forget that it is the new patriotic party which was elected. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, His Excellency, stood on the ticket of the new patriotic party. His errors are the errors of the new patriotic party. His victories are the victories of the new patriotic party. And if the national economy is in such shambles, this party, the new leadership of the party, has a duty to assist the government to overcome this problem. And this is more so because if in 2024 we get into the national elections with this kind of situation, NPP certainly would lose the elections. Okay? So if they are talking about breaking the 8, the way to break the 8 is to stabilize food prices. The way to break the 8 is to stabilize petroleum prices. The way to break the 8 is to ensure that our schools function. Why? Upper West, the heads of assistant secondary schools and so on, have actually passed a resolution threatening to close down the schools because they can't feed the students and so on. This is a headache. It's a headache of the new executive. What are they going to do to government or in government to help government overcome this crisis? Today, if you fall sick in this country, and you are not rich, you would die. And I know what I'm talking about. I've seen medical bills of people. The other time, the highest medical bill I'd seen was for a gentleman who was admitted in hospital for 3 weeks. And the bill had been 147,000 Ghana cedis. And I said, how is this possible in Ghana, where some people are still earning 360 cedis a month? And then people who were listening to the show, started sending their bills. And it turned out that 147,000 for 6 weeks admission was a joke. Somebody sent a bill of 230,000 Ghana cedis for 2 weeks admission in a hospital. So this is our situation. This is the situation in which Ghana has been plunged. This is perhaps worse than the cash and carry system. The cash and carry system, if you went to hospital and you didn't have money to pay, they won't look after you. You understand? They will turn you away. But the bills were not in the 200s of thousands and 147,000 and 70,000 and so on. Today, that is our reality. Look, last weekend, a friend of mine complained about dizziness and so on, and was taken to a hospital in Tema. You understand? Was taken to a hospital on Saturday. Monday morning, when the wife, and this is not a private hospital, this is a government hospital. Monday morning, when the wife went to visit, the bill had risen to 70,000 Ghana cedis. 70,000 Ghana cedis from Saturday to Monday. This is our reality. Yes, food prices have gone up. The price of KK has shot up from 1 cedi to 3 cedis. That's a fact. Price of a bag of rice has quadrupled. That's a fact. The price of gari has tripled. That is a fact. Okay? But there are other indicators which are frightening. Yeah, the price of KK has shot up from 1 cedi to 3 cedis. If you used to eat 6 balls, perhaps you can reduce it to 3 balls. You understand? And of course, I'm serious. There are people who eat 6 balls. When they sit down, they can finish 6 balls. You understand? Some of those people are very close to me, you know.
That's why
you know. So you can reduce it. I mean, from 5 balls, you can come to 4 balls and so on. But when you are sick, and you go to hospital on Saturday, and on Monday, whilst you are still on admission, when you haven't been discharged, you are given a bill of 70,000 Ghana cedis. Where are you going? You know, my brother, as for the medical thing, if we begin to talk about it, we won't finish. Because apart from these astronomical bills, try looking for a hospital bed. Look, a friend of mine was sick and needed to be admitted. I was actually taken to the 37 military hospital. He was told that there was no bed. That day, even uniformed military officers who needed to be admitted were not admitted because there were no beds in 37. And then this friend of mine then called somebody he knew at Rich Hospital and said, there are no beds here too. The hospital is full. No beds. No bed. The no bed syndrome has arrived again. So this new executive has a lot of work to do. Look, the majority leader, and I hate to call him the majority leader, because there's no majority in this parliament. But somehow Suhini and his friends have managed to accept that there's a majority in this parliament. You understand? What convention? Why? The majority leader went to his constituency. You saw how they walloped him. They beat him with sachets of water. And he had to run like a common thief. You understand? So that the anger of the population, even in Kumasi, even in Swami, should tell you a huge story about the work that lies ahead of this new executive of the new patriotic party. Suhini, the other tax that faces this new executive is the choice of contestants for the 2024 elections. I'm told, and I believe that to be true, that indeed the last elections, they lost so many seats because executives sitting in Accra decided who was going to run and who was not going to run. And that the final analysis, persons who could have won those seats were disqualified or were frustrated. And you don't have to look far. You go to Parliament. The independent candidate who won elections was actually going to contest on the ticket of the New Patriotic Party and was frustrated and hounded to the extent that he decided to go independent and won. And today, he has become the savior of the party in Parliament. Without his vote, government business will not pass, and so on. So, I'm hoping that the new party executives would have learnt important lessons and will stay out, will stop interfering in the choice of parliamentary candidates, for the next elections, and allow popular candidates, people who have the support of their constituents and so on, to become the MP aspirants, for the different constituencies. It's an important lesson that they have to learn. Because if they don't learn that lesson, the 137 they have in Parliament will dwindle again. It's important for them to manage the parliamentary primaries, in a way which would improve their chances of winning more seats. If they don't, it will be terrible. And I hope they are watching the scene. Now, they are also going to elect a presidential candidate. They are going to elect a presidential candidate. And all of us know, the last couple of years, 6 years, what the election of a presidential candidate in the New Patriotic Party has meant for the party and what it has done to the party. The last time, you saw members of parliament openly and unashamedly declaring support for one person and condemning all others to doom. Against party rules, against party regulations. I do hope that the new executive will manage the election of a presidential candidate in such a way that this flagrant violation of party rules would not happen again. In the last elections, there were signs. 15 of the regional chairpersons, 15 out of 16, declared support for a particular candidate. Of course, in the end, they were humiliated and embarrassed. You understand? In the end, they were humiliated and embarrassed. But that kind of practice is anti-democratic. That kind of practice is against MPP rules and regulations and so on. And I want to hope that this new executive will be able to put his foot down and stop this recklessness, this abuse of party procedures and so on. There was a time when people who wanted to collect forms, nomination forms in the party, were prevented. You know, they said the nomination forms are finished and only one person has collected nomination forms. Only one person has collected the nomination forms and yet nomination forms are finished. I hope that that practice would end. But Master, you know something? If you look at the history of Mr. Intim, Stephen Intim, who is now chairperson of the party, it can give you some hope. Because he himself has been a victim of these machinations. And it will be strange if somebody who has been a victim of these machinations also employs these machinations. It will be so very strange. So I'm confident, I do hope, I'm confident that under Mr. Intim, some of the things that happened in the past will not happen. And that he's not going to become, he and his executive are not going to become surrogates of Bawumia, or surrogates of Adai Nimo, or surrogates of any other person who is contesting the presidential elections. And that they will create a level playing field for everybody. If they are able to do that, they will be helping the New Patriotic Party to grow once again. You understand? And there will be a lot of pressures. There will be a lot of pressures from all kinds of quarters. They should stand their ground, refuse to be partisan, create a level playing field, and allow all contestants, give them a fair chance of contesting and winning the presidential election. If they did that, they will move this party one step, forward. This party will move one step forward. The New Patriotic Party is at a new conjuncture in its history. It either makes it now or it gets broken. If it fails now to build a solid party anchored on the pursuit of the interests of the Ghanaian people, if it fails to do that, then of course, Armageddon will visit that party. That party needs revival. That party requires new thinking. That party requires new commitment. That party requires something new and fresh. Something which gives hope to party members and gives hope to the rest of the population. that party is looking for a rebirth, a renaissance, something new, something fresh. And I do hope that that something new, something fresh would emerge in the new patriotic party. We should all not forget, no matter what party we belong to, we may be members of the Convention People's Party, we may be members of ACP or whatever. All political parties are public institutions. They are not private institutions. They are public institutions which are seeking power to take control of our destiny. And this country is better served if all the political parties are vibrant, if all the political parties have fresh ideas, if all the political parties are genuinely committed to the pursuit of the national interest, it makes the competition keener. And it makes us, those who don't get into power, and who may never get into power, it makes our interest also count. And that is why I'm hoping, I'm wishing that the Stephen Intim administration will do better than other administrations that I have known. That is why I'm hoping that the Stephen Intim administration will be able to organize clean presidential primaries, which will not be dictated by any force, whether from Flagstaff House or Jubilee House or whatever house. And that at the end of the day, the new patriotic party will become, once again, the new patriotic party of 1992. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just 2 messages, then I'll take a break. This is, Godina Kogan, Deputy National Communications Officer of the NDC, says, I wish Intim well as the chairman of the NPP, may his leg not hit any stone. But for what he did to Josiah, the late former General Secretary of the NDC, I will never forget it. Everything that goes around will always come around. There's Haruna Jibril who is also joining us. Says, so now our last week Delegates Congress clearly indicates the Honorable Alan Kojo Chemantin is the next and best to lead the great MPP. He is the only credible but marketable candidate that can match up with the NDC come 2024. Sena, it is still fresh in our minds with regards to the then Legon Congress when Nana Akufo-Addo wanted to lead MPP. What came out from his mouth when he took the mic, he said after him is Alan Kojo Chemantin. So this is his term, and no doubt about that. We'll take a break. When we come back, we are talking about 2 national monuments and 2 graves. Stick and stay.
He's the Redeemer and he has labored.
Hello, what are you doing Tuesday to Friday, 7:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. every day? You should be watching The Couch. I'll tell you why. On Tuesdays, we talk social issues, lifestyle, health, all those everyday issues that affect us in the big ways. Late Wednesdays are for book reviews. Thursdays are for the hard talk, those social, economic, policy-oriented, political questions that demand for the tough questions to be asked. And personality profiling Fridays, when we get to know the stories behind the winning personalities we love. Inspirational story from inspirational personalities. Hey, listen, you really cannot miss The Couch with me, Amma Pratt. Still, the only TV show with a heart.
Trasacco Estates, home to Accra's most beautiful and luxurious homes, presents its newest addition, Trasacco Springs, a premium master planned community of service plots surrounded by an exhaustive list of amenities. The gated community of Tema to Accra Motorway presents you the finest opportunity to own a land that suits your preferred size, budget and payment terms. Trasaco Springs is open to you for development. Our on-site sales executives are ready. Call on 055 659 2658.
In previous seasons, he saw this.
You are not allowed to hawk or preach in commercial vehicles.
The perception in Ghana is abortion is illegal, and we don't follow up with the exceptions.
The existence of the customary marriage is no prerequisite
for the ordinance
marriage.
Yes. And now, are you ready for this?
Some people express the fact that they don't go on leave with pride.
Accumulated leave, like they term it, is illegal.
Because in Ghana we don't have enough lawyers, and the accused can apply for bail where he has no lawyer.
Knowing full well that you have an STI and you do not reveal that to the person and you have this sexual contact with the person, it is also part of domestic violence.
Join the Law Express panel for relevant, informative, and educative topics.
It is clear that if the court grants bail, it is the registrar of the court that has the power to deal with execution of the bail.
All matrimonial properties that are sold without the consent of the other party are actually null and void.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land.
Thank you very much for staying with us live on Pan-African Television. It's the mother of all talk shows, Alhaji and Alhaji. We're also live on Radio Gold. Thank you for your time. Let me do a few of your messages, then we'll jump on to the next discussion. Kizito in Tamaist says, a good morning. For hospital bills, we can't complain. My daughter has been bent and I sent her to a government hospital. And because I've not been able to raise the deposit of 5,000 cedis for her treatment, she's been left unattended to. And this kind of inhumane treatment must stop. I have 1,000 Ghana cedis out of that, but still unattended to in the name of when people are treated, they'll run away. The MPP breaking the 8 must be taken seriously by the NDC and shouldn't joke with it at all because of the certain revelations. The Ghana card date for our SIMS registration must be contested by NDC caucus in Parliament. That is coming from Kizito. Sena says, a good morning. I am also for the opening up of the electoral process for branch and subsequent elections in our great NDC party. Then vote buying will be greatly reduced. By the way, hope our supporters learn from the just ended NDP national elections. The highest bidders are not necessarily the winners. Thank you very much. This one is coming from Masola Public, who says, because the last election was rigged for them by Jin Mensang, so they still have the guts, the temerity, and the effrontery to still tell us they will break the 8 after not only stealing from the nation's kitty, but also showing that they are very incompetent and stingily corrupt. They do not only chew the meat on the bones, they sucked out the bone marrow and ended up crushing the bone, yet they will still want to break the 8. We shall see in this country. That's Masola Public. Hadi in Pig Farm says, good morning. The most incompetent president in the history of Mother Ghana is Nanado. Yes, some people are happy with what the man is doing. It's about time we, the good people of Ghana, realize our potential than allowing this old man to exploit the resources of the country with his family and friends. The painful aspect is some people will still support the ill utterances of this family and friends government. Meanwhile, they don't have anything to depend on. The future of Mother Ghana is in crisis under this wicked, super incompetent and substandard family and friends government. Allah save Mother Ghana. There's Koblavi Pokwasi Bengazi, who says President Kufuor hasn't treated cocoa farmers well. So those saying that he has helped farmers is a lie. It is only President Kufuor's time that the farmers are not getting agricultural inputs like fertilizer and agrochemicals to spray their cocoa. In John Mahama's time, agricultural inputs were given to farmers for free. They also received free mass spraying. And those are some of the messages I'm getting. Keep them coming. I'll read as many as I can along in the show. But let's go to 2 places. The first place is the Asundre Park. And I wanted to read just a portion of the story that was published by the publisher newspaper.
And this is what they say. The National Democratic Congress has officially instructed its members and all persons associated with the political party to not participate in the commissioning ceremony of the newly developed Asumdwe Park. The burial place of President John Evans Atta Mills ceremony planned for next Sunday, July 24, 2022, under the patronage of President Akufo-Addo. On the same subject matter, a brother of late President Atta Mills, Mr. Samuel Atta Mills, Member of Parliament for Komenda Edina Egwafuabrem, constituency in the Central Region, has harshly criticized government for refurbishing the grave in which the former president was buried, which he claims was done without the consent of the family. An official statement signed by NDC General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia was categorical. The decision to boycott the July 24 commissioning ceremony was because the invitation letter sent to the party was written in the joint names of Coastal Development Authority and Atta Mills Institute, a private organization which a former NDC General Secretary is the founder and chief executive of. If you read the story, it then talks about all the way, I've jumped several paragraphs. In July 2020, the chief executive officer of the Coastal Development Authority, Jerry Ahmed Shaib, announced that upon a directive from President Akufo-Addo, government was commencing a 4.4 million cedis Asumdwe Park redevelopment project to transform the site into a befitting national monument. The Asumdwe Park redevelopment project, he said, would involve general maintenance of the park, refurbishment of dilapidated buildings, and the provision of drainage infrastructure. That's not all. The Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum too is one place that is being touched. This time around, they said they are giving Nkrumah a befitting place, but they are adding more of the people who they believe also need the same level of recognition in terms of the so-called big sis. And that's what is happening to the Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum. So two places that we're going to this morning. I'll start on my left. It looks like I've taken you by surprise. Because I earlier on, a press conference was held by the minority that was addressed by the brother of the late Professor Mills. And they were raising questions about what's happening. So, Sweeney will start for us.
Well, I think that the purpose for this discussion may be as a result of some level of buffoonery that have been displayed. That has been displayed. But it's nonetheless a very important conversation to have. And if one is not careful, we are going to focus on the less important reasons why this is topical. For me, I look at all these struggles in relation to our political history, and that it is important you have added the Nkrumah Mausoleum, renovation, museum renovation. The struggle has always been about the successors of Nkrumah and his party as against the opponents of Nkrumah and his party. And early this week, Professor Raymond Atuguba outlined a number of things which are, in his view, programs aimed at breaking the eight. And one of the things he talked about had to do with the deliberate attempt to rewrite our history and to foist on us non-existent heroes. It is not just through the reconstruction of the museum that will, as we are told, make space for the so-called Big Six. But it's also even in the textbooks that are written, published, and shared at a basic level. So there is a deliberate attempt to reconstruct our history because over the years, they have done everything possible to diminish Alhaji for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and they have failed. And so they think that the only way to succeed moving forward is to recreate and reconstruct the history of Ghana. You recall, I say they have failed because, when the AU decided to erect a monument in celebration of the founding fathers of the AU, it was Nkrumah's effigy that they decided to be erected in front of the AU building in Ethiopia. I saw a picture of President Akufo-Addo, a video, in some other country, was it Cuba or so, one of those countries, where the place he was taken to was to Nkrumah's effigy. And I could just imagine the discomfort he felt, having to accept the reality that Nkrumah was bigger than they want all of us to believe. And maybe his dilemma is even worse, because I understand that growing up, he was an Nkrumahite, an admirer and promoter of Nkrumah, until family reasons made him change his political ideology. So I can imagine the discomfort that he feels. But Sena, this is not the first time that this administration, the New Patriotic Party, that tend to present themselves as a, inheritors of Nkrumah's opponents, have done or have made this attempt to delimit the importance of Nkrumah in our history. You recall that when Ghana was celebrating the 50th anniversary, somewhere in 2007, 2008, they went about doing similar things, renovating, runabouts and erecting monuments of J.B. Dankwa and others in hope that it will delimit the importance of Nkrumah in the story of how we became independent as a country. The president, when he ascended to the throne of presidency, also did a couple of things that you may not consider very significant. But to the extent that it is part of the agenda to reconstruct our history, you cannot discount it. The changing of our holidays. The Republic Day no longer being recognized as a national holiday. And the Founders Day, with an apostrophe or not, still remaining. And all of that are aimed at just confusing the facts about the stature of Nkrumah as we have all come to accept. So in the past, they tried with debates, either on AU Day or on Founders Day or even on Independence Day, to push on us their so-called founders. And at all those events where they pushed these debates, either in the media or organized platforms, they fell flat. I'm saying abroad, the celebration of Nkrumah by people who are not even Ghanaians defeats these, talk of celebrating or raising other people to that same stature every time. So what they are seeking to do now is to make it part of our curriculum, make the conversation part of our curriculum, and subtly brainwash, the future generations by creating spaces also for these people to stand alongside Nkrumah, because they have now realized that delimiting Nkrumah completely and denigrating him is not working. So now what they want to do is to put him side by their heroes, as if they played equal roles. And so over time, trust me, the next will be to elevate them over Nkrumah. Once you tolerate the putting their heroes side by Nkrumah, the next will be to elevate them over Nkrumah. So I think that we need to understand this agenda within the context of our political history, which has to do with the unending debate between adherents of Nkrumah's party, the CPP, and Nkrumah's ideology, and his opponents, the Dankwabuzia, people. The whole agenda of rewriting the history is situated within that age-old rivalry between Nkrumah and his opponents. And that is why we must not take it lightly, because it will be an affront to not just Nkrumah's legacy, but to the correct history of our country. And if we do not know where we are coming from, we are lost people. And so it is not just because, it should not just be because you love Nkrumah so much that you must defend the attempt to muzzle the history. It is because you love Ghana so much and you want our history to be right. And the history is that, but for the revolutionary work of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, we would not have had a Ghana the way it is today. Yes, many other people played roles, including market women, including farmers, including students. But just like you have a captain of an 11-member national team, you will always have that person who becomes the catalyst and the backbone that every other thing else is built. And let us not diminish that. I started by talking about some buffoonery that may confuse this discussion. In fact, I came across an article that's not an article, a publication actually by Professor Dr. Kujo Gavua of the University of Ghana on, this debate of monuments. And he puts it in an interesting way. And let me just share the quote with you. He says that he talks about active voices in the negotiations of power. And he says that the monuments of Ghana national heroes were and continue to be active voices in the negotiations of power. So you find out that even in doing these renovations, it is still about how to negotiate for power and how to advance the arguments for their side, even at the time, using some of these, monuments to still justify the positions that they took. And that is why it is unending. And that is how I think that the legacy of Professor Mills is also going to end up. We are never going to have the, end. We're going to see an end to that debate of how well he served this country. And you will find political parties existing and those who may emerge later trying to associate with such, leaders by way of either renovating or attempting to elevate or diminish their importance so that they can project theirs, or they can use their successes to project their own successes. So as it is with Nkrumah's, monument, I can just imagine that it is going to be with Professor Mills. But in the case of Professor Mills, what is happening now, like I said, is needless. It's much ado about nothing. The man served this country to the best of his ability. And many people have said it, that but for maybe his ill health and his untimely death, he possibly would have gone down in history as the best, or at least one of the best that this Fourth Republic have had. There is no doubt about his incorruptibility, his love for nation, and his, commitment to duty. And the fact that he put the nation above everything else. No doubt about that. So he passed in office. A decision was taken to bury him at the Asomdue Park. The national security was tasked with the responsibility of managing that site, which they did until there was a change in administration. It's been 10 long years. So when you hear somebody like Koku talk about the refurbishment and the fact that there was neglect, I ask myself if he expected the materials that were used to keep the place not to deteriorate after 10 years. Even the body has deteriorated by now. And what is he saying? That in 10, 20 years time, we will not have something more superior than granite stone. So you find him knocking granite stone. That's why I said some level of buffoonery. I mean, granite stone. Yeah, so 10 years time, if somebody also wants to replace the granite stone with something, doesn't mean the one who did the granite stone was reckless and did not love Professor Mills. Is that the argument you are making? So you see that level of stupidity that is, mad with what could have been a beautiful conversation about how to preserve the legacy of such an icon. And because of that, it becomes difficult to have that conversation. Because, really, when the sword was going to be cut for the renovation of the Kwame Nkrumah Museum, who was there to represent the Nkrumah family? Samia Nkrumah was there. Samia Nkrumah was there and spoke to the media. When the decision was taken in 2020 to refurbish the Asomdue Park, which family member of Professor Mills was contacted? Forget about the fact that he's become a national property, so to speak. He came from a family. And by our customs and traditions, things of this nature are not done without recourse to the family. In some cases, even to the traditional authority. When Nkrumah's body was going to be moved from Nkrofo to its current location, check the role that even the traditional authority played in his hometown. So it is not about the intention to preserve the place. It is about the how. And if you got the how wrong, just be humble enough to accept that you got it wrong. Don't be foolhardy. Don't be obstinate. Just accept that your intention to preserve the place may have been good, but the how to do it, you got it wrong. Without involving the most important people in the whole chain, the family. And so it hurts me that Samuel Atta Mills, who is known as a very gentleman, like his big brother, was pushed to the level that he was pushed to, where he had to speak with even a high tone, something he is not known for. And it broke my heart when he said, "Why do you always want us to go through this pain?" If you have ever lost a loved one, you will understand what he meant. When, you know, the anniversary of his or her death approaches, and instead of having the presence of mind to soberly reflect on where his spirit or soul may be, you are having to deal with the agony of dealing with some people's stupidity. It hurts. And I think that the people involved in promoting Honorable Kokoa Anyindaho, I don't know who I even said honorable, forgive me, must understand that one, they are not doing the legacy of Professor Mills any good. And two, their intentions, if they are well and good, is marred by the approach that they are using. Because you see, I think that, and let me conclude on that note, when I follow whatever Kokoa Anyindaho is doing, what I see is that apart from the intention to preserve the legacy of Professor Mills, the motive was also to use it to denigrate somebody, John Mahama. And you see, they say, when you target somebody, when you target God's servant unjustifiably, it blows in your face all the time. That's why the Dagombeans will tell you that if somebody fluctuates at you and you attempt to respond and you don't do it well, the ABA will tell you that the real one will come out and you will be embarrassed. So if you think, I don't know whatever, you know, may be the reason why he thinks he must embarrass or, you know, attack John Mahama. I don't know what his reasons are, but whatever his reasons are, he must reflect on how every time he attempts, he looks like a fool. And then begin to, you know, whatever it is, leave it to God.
Okay.
If he is right, God will fight his cause for him. Okay. But he looks like a fool every time he tries.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable. I'll jump right to Mujib.
Oh, okay. But you say I can combine this and the additions that I have noted. Yeah, yeah, but I don't see you timing. But if you say brief time, what does that mean? I don't see you looking at your watch when Honorable was talking. So, Sena, I beg you this morning. Yes, I agree partly with my brother on the issue of the influence of money in elections. But he was categorically at a point, it's not all the levels that it works, but maybe it depends on maybe the experience he has gone through with the NDC. But when you look at the MPP, it's still at a point at certain level of elections have influence. But I categorize them, for instance, if you look at what happened in Accra Sports Stadium, that category of delegates, you can't underrate or you can't take them for granted. These are some people who have gone to school with degree, masters, are into business, that class of people. So sometimes it is difficult even with the inducement. When their mind is made, or they are also reading and understanding what is happening. So when their minds are made and they have formed their opinion, no matter the influence, wherever it is coming, or whether the inducement, but it's not likely for those behind the scenes doing that to get what they want. But when you get to the police station level, I think we have done better than them, because our police station level that is where all the 5 per police station executives are have the right to vote. For instance, if you take West Central, the total voter population is over 1,000. They are supposed to go and elect a parliamentary candidate. But at that level too, you could see that the number is huge. And what you'll be expecting is that there can't be that much influence when it comes to inducement on whatever it is. But you see, you can also, we have all gone through that experience, and there are certain things we can't say it on air, but it also depends on the level of the appreciation of the game, of the politics we do at that level, and even also the various locations and various constituencies is also to be taken into considerations. For instance, Honorable cannot tell me that sometimes when it comes to these elections, like he used an example, a friend told him how much he has to cough to be able to win an election. To the extent that you see TVs and fridges flying all over, what is the purpose of it? I hope you are getting the argument. But sometimes I get worried when I see somebody is giving a small, what is the kilogram? That rice, the small one you hold, the 5 kilogram, maybe with an amount of 20 Ghana cedi, that can change somebody's mind to not looking at the quality or the competence of the individuals that have put up themselves, but because of what personally I am going to gain. And I agree with him. Those days, we look at development. If you are an government appointee or you are a member of parliament, what you are able to do for the whole community or the whole constituency is what the people will look whether to reward for you again or not to vote for you. But now, the personalization, what I benefit as an individual. And Honorable, let's be sincere to ourselves here. That is where, in this country, it is difficult to fight corruption. Whatever, I will tell friends that, you are taking their money. Do you pause to ask yourself, where are they getting their money? Well, if you are a member of parliament, that doesn't mean that you are super rich. That doesn't mean that every day when you are driving or working, the monies are coming. That is not how it is. If you are a member of parliament, maybe, and you have a successful business running, or you have other engagement, other people taking care of, and your income level is high, apart from your allowance and your salary as member of parliament, you are good in a different position that you can do some of these things. But as honorary member of parliament, and you think that the person has to be able to sort everybody out, Honorable, I beg to differ, and I don't think that that is the best way to go. That is not the. We are also the people encouraging it. So when those people borrow their money, do all sort of things to get their money to come and buy you, and you vote for the person, now he's gotten what he's wanted. Why tell me, why do you think the person will pick your call? Why will he pick your call? You think what he came to give you is free, or he just pick it on the ground? That is the period of recouping whatever he has used. So that politics we are doing, I think as a system, as a society, we have to look at it. It is dangerous. It is very, very dangerous. Because you have to sort boys out. Honorable, yes, when you finish close from work, at least you have groupings you sit. But in my observation, for a very long time, it is encouraging laziness in society. Certain people, just because of politics, Uncle Kosi Pratt has interest, Sena has interest, I'll pick phone and call, remit me 100, remit me 50. People, because of that, people are not willing to take their own destiny into their hands. Maybe to get apprenticeship, get to school and do something and all. Just believe. And when you are unable, you are the type who are not able to meet those demands, then you become bad, you are not qualified, and all manner of things will be written on social media about you. Then I ask myself, where are we going with this? Where are we going? And if individual, how long? How are you going to live on this? And how long? But that is the situation we have found ourselves. And I think that we have to be sometimes we have to be very firm. See, now, even if you must lose the election, but you must tell the people the truth, that this is not the best way to go. Let me give you a scenario. I was a constituent secretary, and one term, when I was going out, we have to make sure our youth organizer becomes the constituency chairman of the New Patriotic Party in my constituency, because the old chairman was old and said he won't go. Of course, we were there, the motorbikes I was using and he was using were bought by the party contributions, and we were using it to do party works. And we don't have anything, but there was no money to even give to delegates. But our constituent secretary, we prepare album and we went to every polling station to make sure that we tell the people the message. We need somebody competent with the energy and zeal who can do the work, because in my constituency, NDC is stronger. And since 1992 up to date, we have not won the parliamentary seat there. It has always won by the National Democratic Congress. So I will want one day that I will get MPP candidate winning in West Central. The delegates understand. Our opponent will go. They have pickups and other logistics. They will go and say, oh, those people with motorbikes, very soon they will come here. I'm building a point. Why we are where we are today. Our guy got eventually elected. Then we're going. We all learn from these elder people who were manning the affairs of the party. They don't look at the size of your pocket. If you are one of us and you have served the party, you'll be given the opportunity and supported. When you get there, then they owe you with the party, the opposition. Then you can all help society. This guy came after some few years. Then when it's time for parliamentary election, he's looking at the highest bidder. Then one day I had to question him. I said, but you yourself, when we're bringing you to become constituent chairman, what money did you have? Did you have your own pickup? Did you have a car? Even to buy fuel on our motorbikes, we all had to call people, cough our small money to get it. So since when have that thing become commercialization? And eventually, that spirit of service and sacrifice is gone. Those who will be behind you working, honorable, with their master's degrees and everything, also hoping to get their aspirations or their intention realized, has diminished. But at any time, he will go beyond that and then try to bring somebody who he thinks that, oh, the person is well dusted and have money and can pay. And then with this, how then do you unseat the NDC in the constituency? But that is the culture. So I don't understand. So meritocracy, service and sacrifice is thrown to the dogs. Let me give you an example. In 2007 in Legon, there was a perception tags on certain presidential hopefuls. What was the tag? That got Nana Adudanko Akufo-Addo, now the current president elected. Yenimu Fretete. You have been there with us. Nobody was talking about how many the president can, the candidates can do. But the sacrifices you have made to the party, standing with the tradition over a time, is enough for you to be rewarded to lead the party. Of course, but if we look at all the permutations, honorable, I don't need to tell you. It's Alan's time. All the issues that were in favor of Nanado are in favor of Alan Kojo Chirimantin today. It is not me, Mujib, that is saying it. It is a system over a period. Even to the extent that the candidate then had to remind us of what his predecessor told him, that I will be president before you be president. And I will also tell you today, I, Nana Adudanko Akufo-Addo, will be president before you, Alan John Kojo Chirimantin, become president. And honorable, there's a principle. When you don't do that, you are killing the institutions. Like honorable said, people join political party to get their aspirations and their intentions materialized. But when meritocracy and service and but you see, that is where it all boils down to the decisions you have seen in Accra Sports Stadium. I hope you are getting the argument. When people harbor anger for a very longer period of time, then you see any least opportunity they get, they'll express it. So that is what when you were talking. Even in spite of all that, but it has not always been. No, but it's my time. What is your problem? Oh, but what did I do?
No, but
I didn't do anything.
Your time,
no,
I'm also watching it because there's a
no. But is it must that I must comment on the topic?
Oh, you don't.
And so what is your problem? So all of that, my time allocated to me. Let me use it the way I want. So I don't want issues this morning.
Some people think Baumia will do Alan what Freddie Blade did in 17.
Anyway, that is it. So, but whichever way you look at it, there will always be a contest. We don't do declarations like what we have experienced in the NDC. Say declaration. We don't go there. You must go, but your message and this party, the spirit is alive. At any point in time when you feel that the party is going a certain way, the spirit of the party will bring it and reposition it. So I don't have a doubt that after all these internal elections, this party will stay united, very strong, to face the NDC in the next election. Honorable, but the major problem, as Uncle Kosi Pratt said, that the party will face But I have seen the General Secretary, newly elected, sounding a word of caution to the level. Members of Parliament, you are going out declaring for one particular candidate or the other. Or what is the essence of that? People who even read and respect the rules and regulations. And the last time I checked, the National Council have issued rules and regulations. But when you see people, I don't understand. When you ask, the flimsy reason was that some are hearing that they will soon be reshuffled. So they just want to catch the eyes of the president or the vice president so that they could be considered. But you see, think of this. So what is the essence? If you get your favorite elected as a presidential candidate and you lose power and you get into opposition, what is the essence of that? But sometimes I get worried, and that is the first challenge. For me, I think that the new crop of executive will face. Just about 2 days or 3 days ago, you see Honorable Ayo Afriye, MP for, I don't know his constituency, then saying all these things. That are not done pre. You are even a leader in parliament. What kind of business is that? So when you say that, you lose respect of the base of the party, because there has not been an election anybody will go and get zero. If for anything at all, the 16, 15 regional chairmen coming together to declare for a particular candidate should have been a guide for people like them to emulate. With that public declaration and circulating the video, did their preferred candidate won? And do you know the consequences of that? It means that you are now a spent force. You don't have the control people were thinking, that you have power in your respective regions. That is what is it. Is that what they want to become? But to the main topic, I don't want to go through the... but you see, Sena, Honorable,
you have to be very brave.
I just am worried where we are now, because things that we should be doing in unity as a country is rather dividing us. As you were making submission, I was asking myself, this is not the first time MPP came in to rule this country. We had opportunity under Kufuor. Why didn't under J. Kufuor all these changes we are seeing affected? And when you want to effect this change, some of these changes, and they are genuine, and you don't get the country together to do it, knowing our political system, and nobody should deceive yourself if you are an MPP member, that we are going to be in power forever. So it means that anytime there's a change in the administration or leadership, these things are going to be revisited. And we are not moving forward. So when I was reading some of these things, well, I find upgrading of Kwame Nkrumah Museum is a very good thing. It serves as part of our history, serves as a tourism site, and we need to protect the first president of the Republic of Ghana, the toil, the struggles, and we all understand that he didn't do it alone. He did it with his compatriots. But at least, no matter how a group is, someone will take the large credit based on some the actions. Whether we like it or not, that has been the history we have. That has been with us for some time now. But I am finding it difficult to understand the motive, to the extent that even the primary school, junior high school books we read has to be changed and all those things. But I think that if they are genuine, if the motives are clean and healthy, get the country on board. Okay. So that me and my brother here, next time, will not be disagreeing on who is the founder of Ghana or who is not the founder of Ghana. I think that the issues that are confronted us as a people, they are more bigger and more challenging. And we need unity to surmount those challenges. Okay. With the issue of Atamils, I think, no, in conclusion, I'm concluding, what is your problem, Sena? I think that your guy, your guy, what is his problem? That, you see,
who is my guy?
We have to respect our cultures. Former President Atta Mills ruled this is a president, therefore not state property. When the issue happened now is no more, the state has to play a role in terms of giving him a befitting barrier. But we all understand the state will do that in conjunction and collaboration with the family. He has many friends. He has many deep related friends. And Kuku was not the only one that worked closely with the former president. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Yes, therefore we all saw the former president gave you opportunity to serve in his government. After all, but now that things are now, you don't own the man more than his own family. And if the family doesn't recognize whatever institute it, the mistake I saw here is the state should be doing it in conjunction with the family so that to avoid that some of these issues that are coming up. But for individual friends and the NDC itself, that his party, that through which he became president of the country, if they are not doing, people feel they are not doing so much to honor him and all those stuff, it's their own matter. But you as an individual, especially when you are not a direct relative to him. So in conclusion, when I see him knocking the I said, this guy needs psychiatric examination. So if it's me, I will comment on his matter.
Thank you, Muji. Jifa.
Sena, this one, allow me to complain a little. Sometimes our time management for the second topic. I mean, an enchromized like Uncle Kwesi will be expected to talk about this matter in 5 minutes. It's unfair. Whatever be the, you let me just make good use of the little time that I have, and I'll start with His Excellency, the former president, of course, may he soul rest in peace, John Evans Atamil's grave. And in fact, I'd really like to talk about how Koku Anyido has been going about this issue. When my brother, Honorable Sena, was speaking about him, to me, when I see Koku Anyido, I see somebody who needs help, honestly. And I'm saying it with all the respect that I have, because I don't know him personally, I have nothing against him. I see someone who needs psychological, maybe psychiatric help. And it's no joke, because you get a situation where somebody is idolizing the former president's grave, not the former president's. The former president's grave probably remains. And someone crying more than the bereaved. That is the situation that I see here. I have a lot of things that I would have wanted to say that my brother has already mentioned about the fact that when we were in power, was there any issue of the site being mismanaged? And we know that a party has come to power for more than 6 years. So obviously, if there were some years ago that these issues or the place was deteriorating, how does it become an intentional act of the NDC, especially when we know the state facility that was put in charge of the maintenance of this place? It's so unfortunate that whenever the youth look at him, they see him as the president of the Stomach Politician Association, because that is what he is built on these days. Because you get no Kofio from Gabi and Co. come and stand there and make so much noise. Imagine after everything that happened, you see him going to spend so much money, puts up a billboard to say, Nanadu, thank you. And obviously, it looks like he's attacking somebody. He lost his daughter about a year ago. He's not even been able to mourn, this is your own daughter. But all the strength he has is in making noise about Professor Atamil's grave, as though it was an issue of two brothers, an issue of two best friends. It is unfortunate. He's an attention seeker. But personally, when I look at him very closely, this attention seeking might not be so intentional. It is because this guy is suffering from some psychological issues and he needs help. I don't want to go deep into a few things that I know about his personal life. I don't think I should do that. But personally, after realizing and getting so informed by certain things, you realize that there is a connection. The man needs help. And obviously, the help he needs is not from NDC, from those who are close to him. No. Mujib, let's not go there. I am urging everyone out there who is close to him, including now his MPP friends. Look, after all the propaganda is done, after whatever, he tarnishing our image as though we have done something wrong is done, they should please get him help. He's a human being. He is still young and he has a future. But so when it comes to that issue, that is what I'll say about it. And unfortunately, of course, we have traditions in Ghana. I remember my father once told me that I may be modern, but I'm a modern African. I may be modern, but I am a modern African, a modern Ghanaian. That means we still have our values and our traditions guiding our decision-making every step of the way. You cannot just stand up and say he belongs to the state, and therefore his family has nothing to do with him. No, he was born into a family. He was brought out by a family. And so the fact that you have neglected the family and decided to desecrate his grave, I mean, it came as a surprise when his brother went with the family members to go and, you know, do some wreath laying and everything, and then they see that this man's grave is, you know, nothing to write home about. It's been put under construction without the knowledge of the family. It is bad. I don't think it is fair. And so they know what they are doing. I'll leave it at that, and I would like to touch on a little bit on Nkrumah. There is a deliberate attempt from day one, as once again, as my brother Sweeney said, from day one, in everything that he's done, to rewrite history. To say that Nkrumah is not as powerful as we are saying he is. He didn't achieve as much as we said he achieved. He is not as big of a how do I say, an institution as we are saying he is. This is somebody who is recognized worldwide. In Africa, they hold him in high esteem. Of course, they say the prophet is not popular is not even liked in his own town. So I wouldn't even be surprised. But you go to other countries and they idolize him. You go to South Africa and they idolize the man. You take Nelson Mandela off, we are talking about freedom fighters in Africa, and his name appears as one of the first three. So you just don't understand where these people and their family traditions or their agenda they want to push their family, should I say, lineage to. You just don't understand where they want to head it towards. I remember a few years ago, I think 2 years after Nana Addo had come into government, I heard, and I know that at least my colleagues on this panel will know what I'm talking about, that when they went to celebrate, was it celebrating the AU something? And, you know, there is a very big statue of Nkrumah at Ethiopia. There was a conversation between our head of state with the Ethiopian head of state to, you know, consider whether we could pull the statue down, because it didn't hold that much of the recognition that it was portraying. There was such a conversation. And I'm not just saying it because I heard it from one person. I heard it from sources that are close to the corridors of power. You understand? And you know there is an iota of truth in every rumor. These are some of the things that have gone on after trying to change and alter holidays and alter the grand appearance of Nkrumah. All his achievements are being interfered with, are being underrated. And it's glaring in our eyes. All for what? Because you want to consider that J.B. Dankwa is also supposed to be considered. This is a party whose roots would have left us hanging rather than going for independence. This is a party who gathered money to board a flight from Ghana to wherever, to the Queen, to inform that we are not ready. But for them, Ghana and Nkrumah would not have been known as the first people to take the step towards independence or freeing the African community. But for them, we would have still been lagging behind. Today, Nkrumah, against all odds, has been able to achieve something for us. And they say, no, we are not going to join you and then just cover the shame. We are going to drag you behind, or at least share in your glory, the glory that you alone, at some point, took up upon yourself to gain for Ghana. It's pathetic. This family and friends and Achin Mafia thing is just getting to everyone's throats. And I think it's about time that we debunk them. I mean, if you have a mausoleum put up in honor of Kwame Nkrumah, then you go and tell you by hook or crook, we should have paintings and pictures of the other big six, so that we keep reminding every single person who has the audacity to enter the mausoleum that, after all, it wasn't about Nkrumah, it was the rest of the six. If we leave Ghana to these NPP, they will just crush us, crush our culture, our traditions, and everything will be about them. It's so unfortunate, but I really, really plead with whoever can get into the ears of sensible people that it is not needful. It has been done. This is the man the world adores. He's been dead for how many years now? Allow us to celebrate him. He's one of the few names that are mentioned that helps put Ghana above them when we are talking about the struggle for independence and how Africa started. But these people just want to turn things around and rewrite history. Unfortunately, we have a very powerful party like the NDC who never allowed that to happen. and so it will never happen in Ghana whilst we still remain here. In fact, if it were for them, during their time, that statue was mounted in 2012. If it was during their time, I'm very sure it wouldn't have been mounted. And I would like to conclude by commending the late President Ivan Tatamels, who has continuously proven that he can work with everybody and with every party. Because during that unveiling in 2012, he invited the children of Kwame Nkrumah by stating that, look, tradition states that this is your father, and so we are inviting you. And he even invited the MPP. Alan Chemantin was there in Ethiopia. Even invited the MPP to come and partake in everything. Just like what he did when he was unveiling the N1 after he knew that Nkrumah started and so Kufuor started, and so he was inviting Kufuor to come so they share in the glory. This was a man who lived for the sake of Ghanaians, and I really commend his legacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt.
Look, I am completely scandalized. Look at the situation in which Ghana finds itself. We can't pay our debts. We can't feed school children. The economy is collapsing. Everything is collapsing in our face. And all that our government does is to force us into a battle over grapes. I'm ashamed. I'm so very completely ashamed of this. I mean, Sena, look, this is not an ideological battle. This is not a fight between those who support Nkrumah and those who support Dankwa and so on. This is a deliberate attempt by this government to devalue everything that the Ghanaian holds dear. Look, our independence was obtained in 2 stages. The final stage of our independence was the declaration of a republic on July 1st, 1960. This government said, we don't recognize that. How is that a defense of Dankwa? How does that make sense? You have a government which does not recognize the day on which we became a republic. It is not a full holiday. They have devalued it. Now, if you do this, how is this an insult to Nkrumah? If even you want to insult Nkrumah, how is this an insult to Nkrumah? I mean, it is crazy. I can't believe what is happening. We have Nkrumah Mausoleum, and then you decide to go and pick memorabilia, photographs and so on, of the people who tried to kill Nkrumah, and you introduce that next to Nkrumah's grave. Are you mad? What is this? You, where Nkrumah is buried, you go and collect memorabilia of the people who wanted to kill him, who may even have killed him. And you want to introduce this into the Nkrumah Memorial. In any case, that spot was chosen for the Nkrumah Memorial because that was the spot on which independence was declared. None of those people you are going to introduce there was part of that declaration. What is happening? Master, what is happening? Look, President Akufo-Addo's father, if he were alive, would disagree with his son for what he's doing. Because Obeche Bilamte was tried by a panel of judges, including Akufo-Addo, Sir Akukosa, and the other one, what's his name? There were 3 of them. Okay? They tried him. And they wrote a judgment written by Akufo-Addo, described Obeche Bilamte as a terrorist. Akufo-Addo's father described Obeche Bilamte as a terrorist. Now his son is going to take memorabilia of the terrorist that his father saw to come and plant it near Kwame Nkrumah's grave. Akufo-Addo's own father would disagree with him. Okay, put all that I've said, put it aside. You have done Kwaseko. Okay? You have done Kwaseko celebrating Dankwa's contribution allegedly to our independence. Is it only Dankwa who won independence for Ghana? So if all of them won independence for Ghana, why are you not going to introduce Nkrumah's statue at Dankwa Circle? That foolish argument that it wasn't only Nkrumah, it was the Big Six. But you have a Dankwa Circle. So tomorrow, I want to see Kwame Nkrumah's effigy at the Dankwa Circle so that it's complete. You have Akufo-Addo Circle. Akufo-Addo Circle, all right? So tomorrow, you have to introduce Park Grant, Kwame Nkrumah and so on at the Akufo-Addo Circle. That is the only way this thing would make sense. You can't have Dankwa Circle standing alone as Dankwa Circle and refuse to have Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum standing there alone as Kwame Nkrumah Mausoleum. This is an outrage. This is an affront to the independence of Ghana. And I can't believe what minds are doing this. It's crazy. Look at what is happening at Asumdwe Park. Can you understand it? Yeah, Justice Van Leer, Akukwasa, and Akufo-Addo. My friend, look. What is happening at Asumdwe Park? I want to see somebody who says that it makes sense. That you can actually go and dig up the grave of a former head of state without reference to his family. What is this politics of dead bodies and politics of graves?
Well, there's a message here that says, Sena, what will now become the name of the Nkrumah Mausoleum? The Founders Mausoleum, or Busia and Dankwa Mausoleum. That's coming from Mr. Sawadogo in Tema. Very interesting question that emerges immediately you hear what they plan to do to it. This is Dennis Yakwete says, Sena, I don't want to comment on anything Kukwanyido, except to say in the words of the late Leo Kwan, that it appears something is wrong up there, with him and perhaps need some help, as Difa put it. That said, please tell Nombo Suhini that the NDC needs election forensics backing. Okay, that's another matter. There are several other messages that I could go through. Yeah. Okay. Doctor. Okay. Good morning to Dr. Sivnadia. Aliu Musa says Nkrumah was a visionary leader. He saw that only one party democracy will develop Ghana. He also had the vision of having nuclear deterrent.
So if you follow this logic here, I mean, so why? The 1966 school wasn't staged by Oni Kutuka. It wasn't staged by Oni Kutuka. So you have a Kutuka International Airport. So if you follow this logic, next week, we'll go and dig up Afrifa. So Kutuka International Airport will become Kutuka Afrifa Ankara Okran International Airport. So what is this business? What is this madness? So Kutuka Afrifa Ankara Okran International Airport and so on. What is this madness? There's no logic in what they are doing. What they are doing is foolish. Foolish provocation at a time when your whole nation is collapsing. And then you say we should go and engage in a battle of graves and dead bodies.
No, we do not. We do not. We are done. Let me say let me say happy birthday to Dr. Louisa Hanabisiu, the National Women's Organizer of the National Democratic Congress. I understand she turns 50 today. So a happy birthday to Dr. Bisiu. Yes. Yes. Very. There's also a happy birthday to my very good friend Azayuma Francis, who celebrates his birthday today. A happy birthday to Millicent Amankwaya, who celebrated her birthday yesterday. Angela Megakwe and Isaac Agidi also celebrated their birthday a few days ago. Kojochu Mbuafo is concluding for us. He says, I also have a question. The Team Mafia went to rebury JB Dankwa in 2017. Can we go and add Nkrumah's effigy to his graveside one day? This ethnocentrism is getting too far. Well, that should conclude the show for today. Alhaji and Alhaji, the mother of all talk shows. Thank you very much for making time to join us on Pan-African Television, Radio Gold, and on all our affiliate stations across the country. A big thank you to all of you. A big thank you to Ahunto 92.3 FM. A big thank you to my panel today, Mr. Kwesi Prajiner, Jivatega. A big thank you to Mujib Brahman, and a big thank you to Alassane Sunini. Always wonderful to have him on the show. Yes. No. Anyway, I don't know. There was he's honorable member of parliament for Tamale North. Yeah. Well, from the crew here at Pan African Television, say a big thank you to you, and enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a fruitful week. We'll see you here same time next week.
He has labored, he has suffered to lead his people into the land of freedom. He is the Redeemer.